What's up?
Guess who just walked in? There's Jake.
Hey everybody, it's Jake. Welcome to Sunday Service. I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness, current new streaming channel starter, and I'm a former Jehovah's Witness. I already said that. Let's see, what else haven't I said? Did I say my name is Jake? Okay, I did. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness. I don't think I said that yet. And yeah, welcome to the new Sunday Service streaming channel. Usually every week, me and my chat just kind of hang out and check in with our old cult, Jehovah's Witnesses, or other cults doing interesting things. So I'm obviously a little weird. I'm feeling weird. We're in a different place. I mean, I'm in literally the exact same place. Now, all right, some people are saying it's a little difficult to find this channel because there's a lot of things called Sunday Service. So I did just change the name. Like, I just went in and edited it. I think it's called, like, Sunday Service with Alt-Worldly or something now. So it should have at least the name of me. It's going great so far. I'm a little sleepy, I gotta say. I haven't been sleeping great lately, not for any particular reason. And yeah, I'm just trying to recalibrate my brain, or just begin calibrating it, I think. Now we're at 150 viewers at. Yeah, well, that's probably, not going to happen for a little bit. I made a community post on the Alt-Worldly channel. We'll see if anybody, actually looks at it. And the, subscriber link to this channel is in the information page on my channel page. Now we've got some stuff to go over. Jehovah's Witnesses deleted their infamous shunning video that I have said several times that it's kind of surprising that they haven't deleted it yet. They've been getting themselves into trouble because their line in court is that they don't shun anybody. They don't even use that word. But then they had this video on their website that was called Shun Unrepentant Wrongdoers. And it was like a step-by-step guide on how to shun people. So we will, it is the worst. We might take a little look at it. I don't know. Might not be worth it. And then also, Luke Evans, the actor, has been speaking out more about his childhood, his upbringing as a Jehovah's Witness. He's gay. He grew up in our favorite doomsday cult, Jehovah's Witnesses, and I believe he has a memoir of sorts coming out, so I thought we could look at that too. And, yeah, alright, so why am I doing this? Why am I putting this on a new channel? I guess I need to kind of drop into one of our segments here, where I talk about YouTube stuff.
Oh, happy day. All worldly complaining about YouTube.
You know what? This is a complaint, actually, because apparently, mixing your streaming and your video essay uploads is bad. I don't quite understand why, but everybody that I follow on YouTube has a separate channel for streaming, and it seems to be that YouTube counts watch time, and if you have a bunch of hour and a half, 3 hour long streams on your channel, it sort of confuses the watch time metric, because obviously most of my videos are 20 minutes long, like my main channel uploads. And so I really haven't been experiencing much growth for the past couple years on the channel. But I really like live streaming. It's not like I want to stop doing it or anything. So hopefully by clearing the main feed, kind of doing one of those IV flushes of live stream content, we're gonna flush all this live stream crap out of the system and get the algorithm going. Oh boy. Okay. What am I going to do to get on pace here? Oh, well, there is some things to plug, to talk about. if I'm talking about YouTube stuff, I do have a video coming out. I swear to God, on Alt Worldly. I was up late editing it last night, just having a lot of fun about the Jeffrey Jackson talk in the annual meeting. I think there's a lot there to unpack, and so unpack it we shall. And by we, I mean me, in the form of a video that will hopefully come out tomorrow if I can get my shit together and finish it, which I think I can. Also, my novel, my ex-Jehovah's Witness horror novel, was originally going to come out this month, but I needed a little break because it is sort of mining myself for trauma and putting it into a creepy body horror demon possession novel. But a lot of it is done. So I released a kind of like extended preview of the book. You can read the first 130 pages or so. It's not like edited for grammar and spelling, so it's a little sloppy at certain points. I'm going to upload a new version because I just realized, like, oh my god, I wrote gauge instead of gouge. Because, spoiler alert, somebody gets their eyes gouged out, and I spelled it gauge, which I just realized this morning when I was looking back over it. So that's cool. Definitely check it out. I put a lot of work into it. I'm really proud of it. It's cool. I think it's really cool. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. And I think it's funnier than you would expect it. It's a slow burn horror movie, you know, sort of like an A24 slow burn horror, but Jehovah's Witnessy. Yes, Couch Fleekle. Oh, very interesting. Pimo de Pomo says a PMQ, which let's do a quick round of definitions. Pimo is physically in, mentally out. That's somebody who has realized that they're in a cult, but because there are consequences for leaving, they can't just leave. And so they're just mentally out. Physically in, mentally questioning. That would be somebody who's having some doubts, but hasn't, doesn't really identify as... identify as was the wrong way to set up that sentence. They just don't see themselves as like an ex-JW. They don't necessarily think it's not the truth. And then there's physically out, mentally out. There's physically out, mentally. And we have so many acronyms in the ex-JW community. But yeah, I have to imagine that this would be a pretty tough video to show people. It's not super cool. Now, I did see that we have a birthday, I believe. Jenny B. Happy early birthday. Your birthday is tomorrow. Excellent. Have you celebrated your birthday before? All right. Stream purge is exactly right. Now, because we're kind of starting afresh on this channel, there's no super chats yet. Like, I haven't even unlocked the ability to do that. I think we got to hit 1,000 subscribers first. So if you're not subscribed, do it. To it. Bro. I know that this has been maybe the worst stream of all time so far, but I promise it's going to get better. I really am super tired. Oh my god. All right. Now let's... first, I probably should take a quick sip of water.
The water of life.
There we go. All right. We got some water. And let's start by looking at... Well, let me just share my screen here, because I actually haven't tested this myself. I believe it was just a ex-JW on Reddit who discovered that this video is no longer there. So it used to be, if you search Shun, which you can see in my search results, it would pop up. Now, not so much. The video is gone. If we look at avoidjw.org, which is a ex-Jehovah's Witness site, which has a lot of their leaked videos, deleted videos from the website, internal elders manuals, and all sorts of documents that rank and file normal Jehovah's Witnesses aren't necessarily supposed to have. They have both of these videos for download. And I think their headline is good. Jehovah's Witnesses quietly remove shunning videos amidst global scrutiny. The removal of videos from JW that features parents shunning their own daughter may be the first sign of a policy shift in response to rising media, government, and legal pressure regarding Jehovah's Witnesses shunning practice. this. Now, I think it remains to be seen whether they're going to actually change anything, because their new update to the shunning arrangement, which they now don't call disfellowshipping, they just call it removal. It doesn't really seem like they're actually changing anything in terms of the culture of the religion. You can say hi to a disfellowship person at the meeting, but you can quite literally only say hi. You can say like, hey, how's it going? Great to see you here. And then you have to stop, because of course it would be inappropriate to engage in prolonged conversation with a removed one. So that's not really that different. They have officially said that they're not going to disfellowship people for quite as long. I haven't gotten to this in the series of rebuttals that I've been doing to those leaked elders videos, but they very explicitly say that you shouldn't let somebody back into the religion if it hasn't been a year yet. Like that's just doctrinal in those training videos for elders. And now they're saying, well, maybe just a few months would be okay. We don't need to kick people out for quite as long. But what has not changed at all is their view towards ex-Jehovah's Witnesses like myself, people who leave conscientiously because they don't believe the religion is true. If you leave of your own accord, if you don't want to sit through a bunch of elders meetings where they try and convince you to don't leave Jehovah, please stay close to the congregation, would you accept a Bible study? You know it's not true now. Well, if you don't want to go through all that rigmarole, too bad. You're just kind of kicked to the curb forever, like you always were. So I think they can kind of get away with doing this because the culture is so ingrained in the religion. They don't have to have a bunch of written rules about what to do because people already know to do it. I see. A lot of videos have been removed because folks have left. That's also true. I don't know if this is what you're saying, but they do sometimes remove videos because an actor in the video has been disfellowshipped or is no longer in good standing. Although we haven't had any brave souls come out and be interviewed by me specifically on my channel saying like, hey, I was an actor in a video. Oh yeah, okay. I've been hearing a lot of good things about this UK series Everyone Else Burns. It's like a dark comedy that seems to be loosely based on groups like Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons. I really haven't looked into it at all. I haven't seen it. It sounds like an awesome show. Let's see. This is Dial. He says, yeah, I had a current JW try to argue that they were easing up on the shunning policy when it's very clear that they haven't. So it seems a lot of it is for internal optics as well. I think that's very true. It lends to the perception that the group is no longer as harsh as it used to be. That it's just not that harsh. It's not so bad. We're nice now. You should come back. We're nice. But of course it doesn't actually do that. It doesn't. They haven't changed anything. Oh my god, my fucking fat-ass cat is about to strangle himself. He was trying to go through the cord of my microphone like a loop. Like he was trying to be one of these show dogs who jumps through hoops. But he's so fat that he just got stuck in it. Our good buddy Echo. All right, so that's kind of interesting. Do we want to watch these videos? I really haven't watched them in a long time. They're really triggering and infuriating. So maybe we can do that later if we feel like we can stomach it. I do want to look at this Luke Evans Jehovah's Witness thing. All right, so this is from El Guardian. God damn it, Echo is being really fucking annoying. I thought I'd die at Armageddon. Hollywood action hero Luke Evans on growing up gay as a Jehovah's Witness. Now, you know this is a British website because they call him a Hollywood action hero, which is not necessarily how I would describe Luke Evans. I mean, this is Gaston. This is a musical theater legend. This is the guy who shoots the arrow in the Hobbit films. A Bard? It's Bard, right? I guess that is an action movie. So I haven't read this yet. I just know that it exists. And, ooh, there is, there's a memoir that's coming out. It says, the Welsh actor talks religion, rebelling, and why he had to come out twice. I was bullied for being gay. Read an extract from Luke Evans' memoir. Wait, is this different? Jesus, fuck. Wait, what? Oh, okay, so this is the excerpt, and then this is an interview. Very confusing. Not really. Oh my god, now it's locking me out of it because it's like I read my free fucking article. Oh, it's still a free read. Okay. Hang on real quick. Before we start reading, before we get into this, I gotta take a big sip of water. So I'm gonna play the big sound drop.
My church had been giving me ass to drink. But now I was freely receiving, the water of life.
Very good. I feel refreshed. All right. At the age of 13, Luke Evans faced an impossible choice. Either be true to himself and embrace his sexuality, or stay true to God. If he told his Jehovah's Witness parents that he was gay, they would be honor-bound to inform the church elders, and that would be the end of life as he knew it. If he didn't tell them, he would be forced into a world of deceit or denial. He chose God. Oh, right off the bat. That's a great opening paragraph. They really summed up the struggle, because you know the consequences of coming out are losing your entire world. And then the alternative is you have to lie. You have to be in a world of deceit and denial, they said. Great. Evans became the youngest boy in his South Wales congregation to be baptized. He formally and publicly devoted his life to Jehovah. If he came out as gay now, he would be banished from the church. All upstanding members of the congregation, including his mother and father, would be expected to break off contact with him, to act as if he was dead or simply had never existed. You know, this is reminding me the removal of some of... here's what it was. Last year, at the convention, there was supposed to be another shunning video like this, like the one that was just deleted, where it was a story of somebody talking about what it was like to be shunned. It was very culty. And, like, there was this Rebecca Vardy documentary, a UK celebrity, and, like, the day after that documentary aired, they sent a letter to the video department before the conventions, well, actually, in the middle of conventions going, saying, we're no longer going to show this video. Stop showing it, delete it. And so there were some people who had already had their convention who had seen this video. We covered it at the time. But it's very culty. So it's pretty weird, you know, as lately as last year, they were producing videos that reasserted the exact same status quo of their shunning policy. They weren't going to make any changes. And it does seem like all of this public pressure and people with big platforms coming out and talking about their experience, not to mention being defunded in Norway and perhaps soon, what was it? Was it like Finland? That's not right. There's another place where they're going to be maybe defunded. Very nice. Christina's painting a pumpkin for us. Here, do we want to see? Oh, hello. She doesn't want to be on camera, apparently.
I don't.
But she's painting this pumpkin. It looks very, very cool so far. It's actually like acrylic markers, right? And then we've got classic jack-o'-lantern face in the back. Very good. Very good.
Thanks.
We're getting in the spirit. We're getting in the spirit. Denmark is what I was thinking of. Right. Okay, so let's see. Your local newspaper had an article about shunning. Famous Dutch radio DJ told about his shunning experience. Oh, wow, okay. Amazing. So today, Evans is a Hollywood regular, cast in blockbusters such as Fast and Furious 6. Oh, okay, see, I haven't seen that. In the Hobbit trilogy as Bard the Bowman. In Tamara, Drew, and Blitz. What? I don't know this. I'm probably saying everything wrong. In Tamara, Drew, and Blitz as love interest for Gemma Arterton and Zawe Ashton, respectively, and in Immortals as the Greek god Zeus. I didn't understand this sentence. I'm sure I read it wrong. He is one of the few out gay actors cast as straight leading men and action heroes. But what a punishing odyssey he has been on to get there. That was like a Watchtower sentence. What a punishing odyssey! One that involves running away from home at 16, living the lie that he had always feared, being expelled from his church, and eventually coming out as gay twice. Once in the UK when starting out in musical theater, then years later in Hollywood as a superstar. His life would make a fabulous movie. Evans has now written his memoir, Boy from the Valleys. It's a sober title for a remarkable and shocking story. The 45-year-old, I cannot believe he's 45, he looks amazing, grew up in, Aberbargode. A tiny town in South Wales that was home to the largest... Okay, we're not going to read this. There's too many big words I don't understand. Let's see. It's one of these interviews. It's like told with prose. Don't they know that I have a hard time reading these out loud on the spot on stream? Let's see. It contained an improbable number of devout Jehovah's Witnesses. 2 of them were his parents. The way Evans describes his father, David, he could have just as easily been a budding pop star as a young man. He was the Harry Styles of the valleys. Waif-like handsome, beautiful skin with floppy hair, Evans tells me. On 31 December 1975, disgusting way of displaying a date, incorrectly, bad job, British people, David decided to devote himself to Jehovah because he had heard that Armageddon was happening that night, and he wanted to be on the right side. Wow. So the 1975 thing, which if you don't know, Jehovah's Witnesses have scuttled this from their official history, and they now just gaslight members and say, well, for some reason there were these weirdos who thought the world was going to end in 1975. That's not what we were saying. But they totally were. Stay alive until 75 was a thing. So he rushed over to his girlfriend Yvonne to tell her the news. God was about to destroy the wicked, resurrect the dead, and transform the earth back into a paradise where the righteous could live in harmony, free from violence, disease, and death. David and Yvonne turned on the television and waited for an update. Although Armageddon didn't happen that night, they still became devout Jehovah's Witnesses. They devoted themselves to God, worshipped at their local kingdom hall, married, and in 1979 Luke, their only child, was born. Evans says the 3 of them were inseparable, which made what was to happen later even more traumatic. Evans is speaking to me from Portland, Oregon, where he's currently shooting a film, playing yet another macho man. But for now, he's transported himself back to his childhood. His earliest memories are of knocking on the doors of strangers with his parents, attempting to convert them to the faith. Knocking on strangers' doors, knowing what we were about to say. Okay. Listen, I'm clearly having some reading troubles. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick sip of water.
The water of life.
I'm so sorry. My brain is truly dead. Knocking on strangers' doors, knowing that what we were about to say they didn't want to hear, was terrifying. In my defense, that was a confusing sentence. Growing up, he says, was in many ways wonderful. My childhood was full of love, especially from my ma'am. Dad was the breadwinner. While David kept the family afloat as a bricklayer, Yvonne gave as much of herself to young Luke as she did to God. Every morning, I'd climb into bed with them on my mam's side before I went to school, Evans recalls. He was an extremely picky eater. His mom used to bribe him with Polo sweets to eat a sliver of carrot or a pea. Okay, I need to know, for many Brits listening in, or Welshmen and Welshwomen, what a polo sweet is. I don't know what that is. So many of his childhood memories are horrific. I like this. So they're acknowledging that he has many wonderful memories, but also a lot of it's horrific. I promise I'm better at writing than I am reading Guardian articles out loud, by the way. Vis-a-vis, not a cult. Yet so many of his childhood memories are horrific. There was the door knocking with his parents. Even today, it upsets him to think about. Knocking on a stranger's door, I practiced this, knowing that what we were about to say they didn't want to hear was terrifying. I hated it. In summer holidays, we knocked on doors even more than when I was at school. 3 hours on a Wednesday, the whole day on Friday, then the weekend. That's something that's easy to take for granted as, like, ex-witnesses. That's just, like, people can't imagine doing that. That's a normal thing to do as a witness. Read it in my Malin font. All right. Jordan, is it Curran? A Polo Sweet is a ring-shaped mint we have in the UK. Oh, okay. So it sounds like Lifesavers. We have a similar ring-shaped candy. Some are mints, some are fruity. Whoa. Jovi! That's what people call Jehovah's Witnesses in Europe. You're a little Jovi, aren't you, mate? Alright, let me do a quick Malin font.
He was expected to shout his allegiance to Jehovah from the mountaintop. Whenever he entered a new class at school, it was his responsibility to address his teacher and fellow pupils about the rules of his religion. At secondary school, there were 9 Jehovah's Witnesses, but as the only boy, he was designated to do the explaining. I had to stand up and say, we don't do Christmas, we don't do Easter, we don't do birthdays, and we don't do assembly in the morning. Now what is that? Why don't they do assembly in the morning? What does that constitute in the UK? Because that doesn't sound like we have an equivalent of that, unless he's talking about, like, in the States, we have like a lot of American schools. I think all of them. You say the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. It's a really weird. It's I believe springs from the Cold War times when there was the Russian scare and they were trying to instigate a lot of American pride into schools. Okay, so it's a flag salute thing. You read better when you're doing accents or character. I don't know what's going on. It's like I get out of my head. Now, Jovi, all right, which people are saying yes. Many people are saying this. His peers taunted him as Jovi or Bible basher, but that was just the start of it. By the time he was 7, they had decided he was different in another way. That's where the name changing got worse. Bender, gay boy. Sometimes the insults were accomplished by floppy wrist gestures. At first, he didn't know what to mean. At first, he didn't know what it all meant, or why he was being targeted, but it didn't take him long to work it out. What hurt me the most was being pushed away. Somebody not wanting to sit next to me in class, at break time, not having anyone to hang out with, or feeling safe in a crowd or gang. I didn't have one. The girls who were Jehovah's Witnesses had their own group, and everyone else just seemed to merge into their little group, and I didn't find mine. I feel a little disrespectful reading this in an accent, but listen, it is helping me read. That was the hardest part. Ooh, that's a Chris Martin Coldplay lyric. Any fans of The Hardest Part? Good Coldplay song?
It's a terrible thing for a child to have to think, what's wrong with me? I felt like I was dirty, like I had a disease. I had to keep analysing what it was about me that was making them do this. Was it my voice? Was it that I was slightly effeminate?
That is wild, because, like, Luke Evans is not particularly effeminate in his mannerisms, from what I've seen in interviews. Okay. I hope it doesn't seem disrespectful or like I'm making fun of him. I just like to do voice. If this is your first time watching, which seems unlikely, I really would love to be a voice actor. Nobody knows how to, like, break into the biz. If anybody can tell me how I can just become one, it would be my dream job. Literally since I was a little kid. We were talking about that earlier, me and Christina. Am I possessed? I know. Well, I also, like, I've had a cold the last, like, 4 days, and so when my voice
is a little deeper, I can do a pretty good Chris Martin from Coldplay. He's got this very nasally sort of, I don't know if it's Manchester or what it is, but I can transform my voice pretty convincingly into doing that.
Not to make this about me. Oh god, there's like a loud plane going by outside. Close that window real quick. All right, I do want to skip ahead a little bit, but he's really telling it all. He's really going all in. Oh, okay. I do love her. These are two crushes. Luke Evans, I've been trying to be respectful. It doesn't seem like it from the way I've been acting and doing silly voices, but I sincerely love Luke Evans. Like, he really is one of my favorite performers. I know that the live-action Beauty and the Beast remake gets a lot of crap, but I think he's so good as Gaston. I think he's fantastic. Like, I think everybody who's in that movie shows up and is really good in it. He's great. And Gemma, it's Arterton. So I've been saying her name wrong forever. It might be Gemma Arterton in Tamara Drew. Okay, so that earlier was completely unclear to me that was the title of a movie. I think it should be illegal, and I know this is controversial, and I know that this is a tangent, but I think it should be illegal to make your movie the title of some random asshole who you just invented for the movie. You know, like Michael Clayton, probably one of my favorite movies. But who the hell is Michael Clayton? That's just a fictional character they made up for the movie. Why is that supposed to convince me to see it? It's just a pet peeve of mine. Tamara Drew, call it like The Adventures of These Two Exceptionally Hot People. The Adventures of Gaston and Strawberry Fields from the Bond film Quantum of Solace. / Bard the Bowman. Okay, I mean, we get it. He went through what a lot of us went through. Luke Evans, if you happen to see this, I was also a little gay Jehovah's Witness boy, so I do understand. Succinct. Yeah, there we go. The Adventures of Pluto Nash, great example. Now, even then, you've got The Adventures of, the name sounds like Flash Gordon. It implies something. I still am like, no, you gotta earn the title. I'll even go with classic literature. Emma, Jane Eyre, great books. Who the hell are those people? Little Women. Now that's a title. I know what the hell we're talking about here. Famously a story about tiny microscopic women. She's also in that Hansel and Gretel action movie with Jeremy Renner, right? Which I've never seen. Bold moves, those. Okay. Let's check in with the Watching Tower. Yeah, we're going to leave. Ah! I was on the wrong tab. Almost clicked away. Almost did a classic Sunday service mistake of refreshing this page. Ah, there's a daily text. It starts with an illustration, and they're so good. This is the best spiritual food on earth today.
The water of life.
Very good. Very good. Why is this so tiny? What the hell? This is like especially small on the screen. What if I do this? Oh, it's just small on this screen too. That's kind of weird. It's just the website itself. All right, well, if I do this. All right. So here's the text. Here, maybe we should start Sunday service with a text. I've also thought it might be a fun game to like do a like an improvised prayer, like get a suggestion from the audience and do like a dumb joke prayer monologue. I should probably do it to explain what the hell I'm talking about. Yes. Okay. Don't worry. I'll read it in a very normal voice. Keep encouraging one another and building up one another. That's my Jehovah's Witness voice. Just as a construction worker improves his skills over time, we too can become more effective in building one another up. This whole thing of like upbuilding and building up is like very JW language that I find sneaking into my speech. This actually seems like a very boring daily text, but let's see if the Watchtower is any good. Whoa! I mean, look at this. Midweek meeting looks hype. What are we supposed to glean from this? Respond to Jehovah's loyal love. I got a little choked up. I'm sorry. I know it sounded like a burp, but it wasn't. That's not what was happening. That's not what's happening. Oh my god. We don't get to do that one a lot, so I really should.
That is not what is happening. That is not what is happening.
So, guys, that's not what's happening. I know it seemed like I burped very unprofessionally in the middle of reading a a sentence, but that's not what happened, actually. What's happening is I was getting choked up. By the way, I love that stupid sound drop. That's not how I'm supposed to use. Like, I had a specific bit in mind that I would do, and then have never really done it. So I really jerry-rigged it into the latest video that I'm making for the channel. So stay tuned for more. That's not what is happening. Respond to Jehovah's Loyal Love. This all seems silly. I mean, what the fuck is this? Oh, okay. So the picture that we're seeing here, the caption is, ask yourself, could the way that I use social media cause me to jeopardize my relationship with Jehovah? Ooh, you know what? I meant to say this in the business up top, but I had to delete threads from my phone. I had been doing so good at not being too online, but by God, the election season, it's causing me to doom scroll, to doom post. I was getting in fights with randos, very stupid, for no reason. I had deleted Twitter and Discord probably a year and a half ago at this point because I was completely hooked on them. It was all I did day and night. I was on them all the time. It was like an addiction. Quitting alcohol was easier than quitting Twitter for me. And I legitimately felt like, holy shit, I had a relapse the other day. I just felt like paralyzed, hopeless but to post. And so I did delete threads, at least for a while, because I've written a lot more shit since deleting social media. I cannot be productive and have that stuff. So if you're trying to find me on threads, which I know all of 500 people were doing, so that they could read my threads that would get 4 likes. So I know I was important to people. I wanted to get that up there. Why does the psalmist compare himself to a pelican? It sounds like a really shitty riddle from the Riddler. Okay, does he? Psalm 1026. I don't remember this. I resemble the pelican of the wilderness. I am like a little owl among the ruins. I do not remember this verse. And isn't that amazing? How you read the Bible and you always find something new. You always find a new gem, a new spiritual gem, which of course is what this section is all about anyway. Well, I'd love to hear their explanation. Oh, fuck. Give me a voice suggestion. Give me some kind of voice. That's what my body dysmorphia makes me talk like. So pelican, Hebrew, kath. The translators of the Greek Septuagint and Latin Vulgate identify the Hebrew word kath with the pelican. It is listed among the birds designated as unclean in the Mosaic Law. This is fucking rude. Pelicans just so happen to be my favorite bird, easily. They're one of my favorite animals. I love pelicans. We did, in first or second grade, we did this whole unit on pelicans. We had to learn all this stuff about them, and ever since, loved pelicans. So I really don't like hearing this shit.
How would they know anything
That
about
it's...
pelicans if they lived in the desert?
Christina asked, how would they know anything about pelicans if they lived in the desert? That's an interesting question. I mean, they're... Yeah.
Pelicans are water birds, right?
I don't know. Well, I'm about to learn that. The pelican is one of the largest of the flying birds, attaining a length of over 1.5 meters, 5 feet, with majestic wing spread, which is kind of like mouthfeel, but for birds, of 2.5 meters, 8 feet or more. The yellowish beak is long and hooked, and the large elastic pouch beneath is scarcely noticeable when empty. Ponderous on land, the pelicans are strong, graceful. Nope, sorry, graceful flyers, and have been known to have their nesting places as much as 100 kilometers from the places of their fishing. They are superb fishers, and their webbed feet enable them to maneuver swiftly in the water. This does not seem... Oh, I see, okay. And the pelican is gorged with food. It often flies away to a lonely place, mood, where it takes a melancholy posture, with its head sunk on its shoulders, so motionless that it might be mistaken from a distance for a white stone. The bird assumes this attitude for hours at a time. Assumes this attitude. thus befitting the melancholy inactivity to which the psalmist refers when he illustrates the poignancy of his grief by writing, I do resemble the pelican of the wilderness. Here, wilderness does not necessarily connotate a desert. All right, Christina, they're addressing your plot hole, but simply an area away from human habitations, perhaps a swamp. Okay, this is cheating. You can't say like, okay, well, the Bible, when it says desert, it could also mean swamp. Those are not the same thing at all. Those are not even similar to being the same thing. Whoa, base pelicans are possessed by demons? Daniel Plainview. Okay, we've got Samuel Hurd. Let me set these aside. Wait, Ursula moment? I did kind of sound like Ursula there for a second. Family Guy, Daniel Plainview. Oh shit, I gotta think about Daniel Plainview. Another one of my favorite movies, There Will Be Blood, Transfusions. It's a great movie. I feel like I'm abusing people if I play that water drop one more time. But technically, that's what I made it for.
The water of life.
See, the fun with the sound drop is the more you play it, it does that thing, speaking of Family Guy, where it goes on for so long that it kind of loops from being annoying to funny all over again. This is bullshit. I think this just totally sucks. It seems like they're trying to cover up for an obvious plot hole in the Bible, that the psalmist, if it was actually written when they say it was written, might not necessarily know what a pelican is. Like, hey, by wilderness, we mean swamp. And if we assume that it is a swamp, during certain seasons, swamps in the northern Jordan Valley are still the home of pelicans. All right, okay. Lois? No, that's not a very good Peter. Is that a good Peter Griffin? No, it's not very good. What was another one? Daniel Plainview? I'm like going off of memory of Daniel Plainview. I drink your milkshake, that sort of thing. The pelican shows a distinct preference for uncultivated places. It's just William Malenfant, where it will not be disturbed by man. There it nests and hatches its young and retires after fishing, because of its fondness for lonely, desolate places. I abandoned my child, my deaf boy. Okay, we're done. We're done with that. I honestly feel like I did the opposite of learning about pelicans, because all that's kind of seemed like bullshit. I mean, I feel the same exact way as a pelican when I'm gorged with food. Drop that water clip? No. Lois. Diarrhea. I don't know. I cling to you. You hold on to me. Ew. Oh. How the congregation reflects Jehovah's view of sinners. This is one that I went over in that video, right? So we kind of already did this. I don't think that I went through it in detail, but it might be interesting to look for word whiskers. I had initially intended to make a word whisker video about this entire watch shot, because it's kind of crazy. Another place you notice it, if I may use the word notice, is that in the annual meeting, there's a ton of weasel words in the Jeffrey Jackson talk. Actually, let me show that, because... Alright, we're jumping to a new segment. I want to do weasel words real quick. Let me show... Shit, it's not going to let me do this, is it? It, like, specifically doesn't allow the kind of file that I need to show. I think we had this issue when it happened. Let's see. Why is it weird? Yeah, it's not going to let me do it. God damn it. Shit. That's deeply unfortunate. I could pull up my own stream of the annual meeting. I'm probably talking over it, though. fucking past Jake talking over the things that we need. Oh, man. Let me see. Let me see if I still have the link that Ron Pomo sent me to, like, his Google Drive, because if he does, I could conceivably still just pull that up. I promise it would be worth it. But actually, there is another video that we could watch, since I can't get my shit together in that department. There's a newish talk that I've heard is very funny. I think there's an extremely, perhaps offensively old man that gives a talk. I saw a post about this on the subreddit. Now I can't find it. Well, while we're looking on the subreddit, we might as well look at the subreddit, because there were some good posts. Let me share my screen here. So, there were some good posts this week. Damn it. I also, like, literally cannot figure out how to pull this video, or sorry, how to log into my Reddit account on desktop. I only have it on mobile. I simply can't do it. I'm very bad with computers, as is evidenced by everything that's happening right now. Okay. Well, we got to check out the latest by Larchington.
My church had been giving me ass to drink.
Okay. So this is Larchwood, one of the greats. Shunning without preaching, how meeting attendance became the focus for many Jehovah's Witnesses. I have not seen this at all, so this is all new for me. Why meeting attendance is often equated with being a Jehovah's Witness instead of preaching. I recently spoke with a Pomo relative who mentioned that the rest of our family still identifies as PME JW because they attend meetings on Zoom. However, these family members do not participate in the ministry at all. This conversation got me thinking about how Jehovah's Witnesses often equate being a JW with meeting attendance, when actually it is participation in the preaching work that truly defines a person as JW. There is an obligation to preach. Okay, so they post references to this. I think most of us know this. They show this 2000 KM article. It's like, what is our objective? The importance of the preaching work is stressed throughout God's word. The Watchtower often emphasizes our obligation to preach. We count as Jehovah's Witnesses, and this is what I've cited a few times in videos where I talk about like how membership is counted, and this is still on their website, I believe. How do you count the number of Jehovah's Witnesses? We count as Jehovah's Witnesses only those who are actively preaching the good news of God's kingdom each month. This includes those who have been baptized as witnesses, as well as those who, though not yet baptized, qualify to share in the preaching work. So they sort of, that's really weird. I actually hadn't even thought about that. Like, it's not even that you have to be baptized to be counted as a member. As soon as you're an unbaptized publisher, they'll count you in their tally. Interesting. Larchwood also points out that JW literature defines an inactive publisher as someone who has not reported any preaching activity for 6 months or more. And this has not changed with the new shift to now not counting hours specifically. What you do now, if I'm remembering correctly, is you basically just check a little box that asks if you did take part in the preaching work. Now, if you're a pioneer, you still do count your hours. That's part of the special perks that you get to hold over people's heads on this corporate hierarchy. But witnesses just have to say that they're taking part in the ministry. I don't know if this is what Larchwood's going to say, but it's pretty easy to like cheat on that form because, first of all, nobody's checking. But yes, God's listening. At the same time, you can always be like, well, yeah, I kind of witnessed at work. I kind of talked about the Bible at work this week. That's basically preaching. And an inactive publisher, someone who is counted as inactive, is someone who has not reported any activity in the preaching work and disciple-making work for 6 months or more. So there you go. Let's see. What's Larchwood say? This presents an interesting contradiction. While the official definition of inactive focuses specifically on preaching activity, a quick search on Watchtower Online Library shows that Jehovah's Witness literature frequently conflates inactivity with not attending meetings. Here's an example where meeting attendance is emphasized in the very paragraph with the footnote defining what inactive is. Oh, I see. All right, so we just read that footnote about what inactive means, but it comes from this paragraph from a 2020 Watchtower, so new, I guess. What is time? Jehovah takes note. Jehovah's always noticing things too, by the way. Jehovah takes note when even one of his children stops associating with the Christian congregation and engages in the preaching work. Think then of how pained he must be to see thousands of his servants become inactive each year. Yeah, and then the next paragraph, they're like, come back to the congregation. Some stop attending meetings and sharing in the ministry. This blurring of definitions leads many JWs to view meeting attendance as more important than preaching. Here, an inactive JW are described as practicing Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh. So in this 2001 Watchtower, it says, some in that situation have allowed their spiritual strength to dwindle to such a point that they have become inactive or non-practicing witnesses. That's a very, Christendom term, actually. How many identify as JWs solely based on meeting attendance? So this is large-wood speculation. I wonder how many individuals who aren't counted as JWs in the official numbers still consider themselves JWs because they attend some meetings, either on Zoom or in person. Similarly, I think about how many active JWs, in the true sense, those not preaching, shun those who do not attend meetings, as frequently happens. In my case, my sibling has cut off all contact with me, and other family members have also reduced contact considerably on the basis that I no longer attend meetings. Hypocrisy and shunning based on meeting attendance. The reality is that you have inactive JWs, those not counted in the official numbers, shunning other inactive JWs based solely on their lack of meeting attendance. This is hypocrisy. While these individuals may attend meetings, they are not fulfilling the core requirement of actively engaging in preaching. Essentially, JWs who are not counted as active members by the congregation are cutting off others who also aren't counted because they don't attend meetings. By focusing solely on meeting attendance, many overlook the essential aspect of being a JW, actively preaching the good news. I'm assuming this is where they're going with this, but how do I want to say this? It's all about optics. The outward appearance and what you appear to be doing actively is really important to the witnesses. So it's more if you look at the Shepherd book, the Internal Elders Manual, a lot of the sins and what the punishment ends up being is dependent upon how many people in the congregation know about this gross misconduct. If people don't know about it, they might get a lesser punishment, right? Whereas if people do know about it, they might get a more severe punishment because it really is all about the outward appearance. I guess God searches the inward appearance, but Jehovah's Witnesses can't do that, so they only judge by the outward appearance. Well, that's pretty interesting. Let me see here. Here are some more examples of the Watchtower/JW website conflating inactivity with meeting attendance and coming back to the congregation, ignoring the fact that many inactive ones do attend meetings. They're just not preaching/reporting preaching activity. If you want to see more, just type in the search bar inactive meetings. Okay, so this says, help them return without delay.
Why is it important that we carefully listen to the expressions of inactive fellow believers? How may you be able to help inactive ones to see that not associating with God's people has been detrimental to them? To discern how to help inactive fellow believers, elders, and other mature publishers need to listen carefully as such individuals make heartfelt expressions. You might tactfully ask them, are you happier since you stopped attending meetings?
Yeah, okay. This is weird because I knew, I had an active family, they were counted as inactive because they didn't go out in service. Actually, my sister and her husband were like that for a while. Sorry, sis, if you're watching this in the far-flung future, but it's true. I remember it. And my parents were like, they're technically inactive because they don't go out in service. But that kind of doesn't matter, actually. You'll still get invited to the cookout. if you're at the meetings. Top comment. The GB made it so easy to shovel the coal. How do I not have a shovel the coal sound drop at this point? Really brutal. I wanted to see this talk. This talk that somebody posted a clip of. God damn it. It was of a really old guy, my favorite kind of guy. It's just 90 people posting about Luke Evans. Oh boy, alright. I have heard good things about this video, this Who is Yahweh video. Is this the Myth Vision thing, or is this another channel? Very upset. Very upset that I can't find this here. I'm gonna try, because we need video content. That's just the reality. I'm gonna search by top this week. Oh, okay. It looks like, by the way, it looks like Ron Pomo was the one who first posted this bit of information that the Shunning video had been deleted. Now, did somebody point out that there's another one that's not removed yet? Let's not forget Anthony Morris's last appearance in a governing body update video. Down the memory hole it all goes. Yeah, this is pretty bad. I mean, I think this is how I started my video on the changes to Shunning.
Thank you, Brother Pedersen.
Thank you.
The authorities
All
in
right.
Norway have threatened to remove our legal registration because of our scriptural beliefs and practices regarding disfellowshipping. In the future, various governments will challenge our freedom of worship.
Wake and bake?
They may pressure us to change our scriptural beliefs, but we're certainly not going to do that.
Oh, and the
The governing
disdain.
body has prayerfully considered.
The disdain which he says, we're certainly not gonna do that. And then, yeah, they actually did do that. They did it hardcore, actually. This looks like a good post here. I sense righteous indignation. One of the cultiest things I've ever heard from an annual meeting. This shit hits different when you're awake. I shuddered when that little bastard said this. Governing body member Winder telling parents why they should send their kids away to work for the cult. Oh, Jeffrey Winder. He has such an anonymous voice. In the new world, you will have an eternity to spend with your family together in paradise. But right now, we have work to do. What a bunch of unfeeling, self-righteous pricks. Based. Great post by Cute Investigator 42. Yeah, no, that's really disgusting. I remember us being disgusted by that when we reacted to it. On the Sunday service live stream, whoa, Based, Tinker Salt, posting their I voted sticker. Not concerned about freaking out the MAGA XJWs. Love to see it. Okay, let's look at this one. So this is from Cookie Cutter Cook. A lot of good usernames, by the way, in the XJW subreddit. Just get him out of there. In case you didn't see my post prior to this one, I officially left the faith about a month ago now. I did so by dropping off a letter, blocking almost all the numbers in my phone and walking away. At the time, it didn't exactly feel liberating. I think I was more shell-shocked than anything, trying to wrap my head around what exactly I had just done. Relatable. But last night, I happened to be looking at my voicemails and noticed that I had a message from one of the elders of my congregation. I had their number blocked, so it didn't ring, and just let them leave a message. They asked if they and one other elder could sit down with me and talk about my decision. I felt that all too familiar knot growing in my stomach, the one that I always got when I had to deal with them. But in that moment, I realized that I just didn't have to do anything about it. I deleted the message, put down my phone, and went back to the show I'd been watching. And in that moment, that was the first time I felt the true liberation that I'd been hoping for. Knowing that I would never have to deal with them again, that no one could force me to, that they don't hold any power over me any longer. If you've made it this far, I'm from eastern Idaho, in case there's anyone else near me who's gotten out or planning to. All right, well, shout out to any Idahos. What do you call yourselves in Idaho? Idahoians? Because Ohioan is a little sweaty. But there's also less syllables. Idahoans, says Christina. Nice. This is the way. How great is it that this is the way from The Mandalorian is actually a thing that that Mandalorian cult says. Like, he is dressed down for being an apostate because he, like, forms an emotional attachment to Grogu, right? Sorry. That was a Star Wars tangent. That's a great post. I'm enjoying looking at posts. Oh, wow. Well, we have not an intentional reference, probably, but a reference nonetheless to Sucking on Lemons from one of my favorite songs. Yesterday I woke up sucking on a lemon. Everything in its right place. Radiohead, ever heard of it? Thinking about the time my JW family showed up to my law school graduation. Ooh, only to look like they were sucking on lemons. One of the proudest days of my life, and these twats... a lot of good posts. Ooh, and by the way, this is from Benign Boundaries. Another great username. So, sorry, I'm going to reset this because I was just blown away by the fact that I think for the first time ever, I said the word twat on Sunday service. One of the proudest days of my life, and these twats just came to look stern and guilt me. Maybe they didn't believe it was true. I don't know. I asked my mom why they even came, if they were so ashamed. Honestly, I didn't even ask them to. I just told them I was graduating, and they decided to show up. It was within driving distance to their house. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was something like, well, it's kind of a sad day to see you so far out in the world. The JWs and their gang violence piling it on. Can't stand to see someone happy. Well, I didn't go for it. I smiled brightly and ran around laughing. I even had this picture of me standing there in my robes with one person on each side, looking like two turds in a punch bowl. It was one of the first times I realized that I can turn their shame right back on them, weirdos. Based post. Listen, what have we learned this election cycle? Weird people who believe weird things really don't like it when you point out that they're fucking weird. Because they need to believe that really there's a silent majority.
Anymore. I have had some friends.
Ooh! Okay, so my number one favorite crush right now is Taylor Tomlinson. I've been a fan of hers for a long time. Her show After Midnight is really great. She's got a lot of good, like, ex-religious material. She grew up super religious. Let's watch this little clip and get demonetized.
Not religious anymore. I have had some friends find religion as adults recently, which is very upsetting. If you grew up religious and you're not anymore, and your adult friends find religion, it feels like God is your shitty ex-boyfriend who's now getting it together for your friend, and you just have to watch it happen on Facebook. And they're like, have you met God? He's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I grew up with God. He's a douchebag, all right? Did he tell you were broken and you need him? That's his move. That's what he does. He says that to everybody. Don't drink what he gives you. You drink that, next thing you know, you're eating his body, the Holy Spirit's inside you. It's a whole system they have over at that frat house they call church. Who else uses Roman numerals? That joke makes it sound like I resent my religious upbringing, and I do, so I nailed it. But...
oh, God, she's the best. If you haven't watched her specials, they're all really good. God damn it, why did it, like, mess up my search results? Okay. Oh, okay, so this is a big one, by the way. I definitely meant to talk about this. There was a big arrest in a CSA case, right? Let's see if there's links to this information. This is Elder, I think, getting arrested. Video I made on the sentencing. Oh, okay, here we go. Lancaster. Lancaster where? Because there's a Lancaster, Ohio. I'm pretty sure that's not here. We call it Lancaster. So I'm going to say it in the Ohio way. Lancaster Jehovah's Witness elder sentenced to prison for molesting congregant children. Jeez, so this was just Friday that this happened, the 25th. Norman Aviles Garriga, 45, of Lancaster, was among 5 members of the Jehovah's Witness Church in Pennsylvania, indicted by a state grand jury for using their clerical positions to sexually abuse children. He was convicted on charges of aggravated indecent assault, and endangering the welfare of children. So this is part of the Pennsylvania grand jury, which has, maybe they'll say in this article, but quite a few people at this point have been arrested. And this is an elder. And I believe they were all elders, right? Or Minnesota servants, because they use their clerical positions to abuse children. And this is what Jehovah's Witnesses don't think. They don't think about this. They don't understand what apostates are even talking about when we talk about CSA within the group. They think, well, yeah, there's bad people everywhere. We can't control what bad people do. And it's elders, okay? It's like servants and elders and circuit overseers. They use their positions of power to be alone with people, just like every other shitty religion. It's not just that it's similar to the Catholic thing. It's exactly like the Catholic thing. And these people have been moved around to different congregations, right, to avoid consequences. So, let's see. Oh, shit. This is a real dunk by the judge. Lancaster County Court Judge Jeffrey Wright told Norman Aviles Garriga that if he thinks his sentence is unfair, he should look at it this way. It's the same amount of time his victims had to wait for justice. Ooh! Brutal. Wright sentenced Aviles Garriga, a Jehovah's Witness elder, to 11.5 to 25 years in prison on 12 charges of sexual assault against children and families that were hosting him from 1999 to 2003. Ugh. See, okay, so you don't think about this, right? It says that he was an elder. Maybe they'll explain in detail about this, but circuit overseers, right? Or traveling speakers, they might stay the night with a family. That's something they don't talk about in court when they're like, oh no, Jehovah's Witnesses, we're never alone with children. Not true. So this guy of Lancaster was among 5 members of the Jehovah's Witness Church in Pennsylvania, indicted by a state grand jury for using their clerical positions to sexually abuse children. 3 girls from the same extended family whom Aviles Garriga lived with accused him of molesting them while establishing himself in the United States from Puerto Rico. When 2 of the girls told their mother about what happened, she did not do anything about it, and Aviles Garriga tried to discredit the girls, saying they were demons and delaying their baptisms. Oh, fuck this guy. The Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General investigated and pressed charges in 2023 after the Lancaster County District Attorney's Office declined in 2010. Fuck the 2010 District Attorney. Jesus.
Well, that's the county where there was potential voter fraud that was reported on.
Oh. A jury convicted Aviles Garriga on June 5th of all 12 charges in the trial, including aggravated indecent assault, and endangering the welfare of children. What? Aggravated indecent assault and indecent assault are 2 separate things? That's confusing. And endangering the welfare of children after a 3-day trial before Judge Jeffrey Wright. On Friday, 25 family members and friends of both the victims and Aviles Garriga watched as Aviles Garriga was sentenced, with many of them giving testimonies with the assistance of an interpreter. Aviles Garriga's mother, one of his children, friends, and family, and a sister-in-law testified to Wright on his behalf, saying he was a wonderful family man and church leader, and nothing in his character would indicate that he would be capable of the abuse. Ugh. Gross. This is another thing that I would have never considered as a witness, that there would be witnesses defending the obvious pedo. Really disgusting. Another Jehovah's Witness elder told the court that the girls were likely lying and the judge should take that into consideration. Yeah, well, it sounds like the judge did take that into consideration and told them to fuck off. Many of the 3 victims' family members testified as well, many saying they love Aviles Garriga, but he refused to change or acknowledge the damage he did to the girls, and the law needs to be honored. I have been waiting 24 years for justice, and now the justice is here, the mother of the 2 victims said. All 3 girls spoke in court, outlining the damage Aviles Garriga did in their lives and how he tried to shame and pressure them into silence, destroying their credibility. One spoke about suicide attempts and constant panic attacks. Before sentencing, Aviles Garriga was deemed a sexually violent predator. Sexually violent predators are sex offenders whose lives include factors that make them likely to engage in predatory or violent offenses. Assistant Attorney General Angela Speraza said professional evaluations showed Aviles Garriga had characteristics that would make him a sexually violent predator, but she did not elaborate in court, and Wright agreed to sign it into the record. Wright addressed the 3 abused women, calling them heroes and saying their persistence to seek justice despite the long road they faced put him in awe. At last, you and the truth both win, Wright said. Pennsylvania in general seems like quite a good state in terms of criminal justice, it seems, at least generally. This is good to see. And then he addressed the people supporting Aviles Garriga, saying despite all the positive things they had to say about him, they never uttered a word of support for the 3 women who were vindicated in court or their families. He said it was a sign that not much had changed in the church in the years since the abuse began. Whew. Well, I generally don't like judges very much, just as a profession. I have issues with it. But it sounds like a solid judge right here. This is really, it's just disgusting, isn't it? Like, they just showed up to denigrate these victims of abuse. And if you ever talk to Jehovah's Witnesses about the CSA problem, like if you're now an ex-JW, it's probably something you brought up with your family and or friends when you were leaving, and they will basically be like, so what? Like, well, you know, that is sad that happens to them, but this is Jehovah's organization. And what you see with this, like when this guy, like he said that they were maybe possessed by demons, and another Jehovah's Witness testifying on his behalf said the elder told the court that the girls were likely lying, and the judge should take that into consideration. They believe, Jehovah's Witnesses are groomed to believe, you might say, that anybody saying anything negative about the religion at all is an agent of Satan. That they are, wittingly or not, being used as Satan's puppet. They didn't delete that fucking video from the website. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that disgusting video being removed. That's the Stephen Lett one of 2 videos, weirdly, where he's like, apostates are saying that Jehovah's Witnesses support pedophiles. How ridiculous. And then he doesn't, give any evidence, because of course you can't, because the evidence is overwhelming and terrible. And it's in that video that he says that the media and apostates, just critics in the world, journalists, the courts, and he has that picture of Satan with his puppet strings on them, they're all controlled by Satan. So from the family of this molesting guy's perspective, they're like, well, this is just what the organization said was going to happen. These must be apostates who are being used by Satan. So the Jehovah's Witnesses have this permission structure to denounce and avoid and ignore credible allegations of abuse, because how dare you be saying that something negative happened in the organization at all? It's really disgusting. And that's why I feel rather strongly that nothing fundamental about this religion has changed with these updates to shunning and the new rules, all that kind of thing. So I just don't buy it. I don't buy that they've actually changed, because this culture hasn't changed at all. And I think, if anything, deleting this video shows that they feel strongly that they can perpetuate the culture without having it in writing. That it's now so ingrained that they can just use dog whistles and they don't necessarily have to make video propaganda supporting it. Although, let's be real, in like 3 years, when they feel like the heat's off them a little bit, they'll they'll just make another one. I don't know why it's saying that my internet connection is bad. Am I still coming through okay? Oh my god. Sophia says, sadly my husband was abused by a JW babysitter while his parents were out preaching. That fucking sucks. And also, you know, if you're abused, you're not allowed to talk about that behavior. You have no context for it. You're robbed of the language. You know that you can't go against the elders. So then people just internalize that behavior. They think it's normal, and it creates more abusers. Not to excuse abusers, right? But I think the challenging thing about Jehovah's Witnesses, as Ray France said, is that they are all victims of victims. Everyone in the religion who's ever been a Jehovah's Witness has been subject to, at the very least, emotional and spiritual abuse, you might say. But definitely emotional abuse. Even great parents, like what Luke Evans was saying about his parents. You have lovely parents who love you and care about you, but because they're Jehovah's Witnesses, they have to fill your mind with this really scary doomsday stuff. They do have to teach you that if you are an unrepentant sinner or turn your back on Jehovah, that you'll be shunned. And so there's no way to have a truly healthy relationship with your family. All family relationships are a little bit abusive in Jehovah's Witnesses. There's just a scale. And I fucking hate it. I'm really glad that this grand jury investigation's happening. I mean, this is the most that the organizations had their feet held to the fire in the United States in a long time. There's already been a lot of arrests. So I'm feeling pretty good about it, because it's hard for me to get too excited about the potential for local changes when you have, like, we're seeing stuff in Norway and in Denmark. Like, that's amazing. It's great. But our democracy, such as it is just set up so very different. Like, the demographics and culture of this country is really different. And think about how long it took for the Catholic Church, you know, the oldest religious institution in the United States probably, to be held to account by the Boston Globe. It was hard because a lot of fucking people at the Globe were Catholics. Because it's a very popular religion. So it's just hard to get mass media attention. And, like, this hasn't been super widely reported. It's still mostly relegated to the local news. But whenever this grand jury thing is over, there's going to be final reports. There's going to be write-ups of all of this stuff that happened as a result of this grand jury, and it'll be really interesting. Lavalu, hey Jake, have you learned about enmeshed family systems? I feel like that's the default for good JW families, like what it sounds like you had, and I did too. Okay, I have never heard this term. Let's look for enmeshed family systems. What does that mean? Psych Central. I never know. Yes, Echo. If I start dipping below the screen, but below screen level, it's because Mr. Echo is down here, which is his full name. Yes, it's Echo. You know what's funny about him is he really doesn't want to be on stream. Let's see if I can get him a little closer. Hey, buddy, why don't you come up here? Why don't you jump up here? Jump up next to me. Okay. He looked at me and said, nope. He's really funny because he only has one tone to his meows. Our other cats have a, whole vocabulary of sounds they're able to make, and Echo has only ever just sounded pissed off, like, even when you pet him and he likes it, he's like, weird. Okay, let's look at enmeshed family systems. Is there, oh, by the way, I mean, he did make an appearance in the sense that you could hear him pretty well. So let's shout it out for the Pet Corner.
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Very good. All right. This show is really becoming what I want, which is mostly incomprehensible bits repeated throughout moments of clarity. The fuck? StreamYard is so fucking bad. I don't know what these websites are, like, I don't know which is trustworthy. mariadrost.org? Like, what is this? It says .org. It also says sponsored. Psych Central. Sounds like it could be literally anything. But we'll start here. Medically reviewed by Janet Brito, PhD. LSCW, CSDS. I don't know what any of those things mean. But this is from 2023. I've never heard of this. The enmeshed family system. What it is and how to break free. Enmeshment describes family relationships that lack boundaries, such as those in which roles and expectations are confused. Learning how to set boundaries, developing a sense of self, and seeking professional support may help. Being close to your family is usually a good thing, but it's possible to be too close. In an enmeshed family, the family members are emotionally fused together in an unhealthy way. Common signs and symptoms of enmeshment. If you grew up in an enmeshed family, these common signs of enmeshment will be familiar to you. There's a lack of emotional and physical boundaries. Right off the bat, I will say I never felt that there was inappropriate physical boundaries removed in my families. On both sides of the family, really. Emotional boundaries? Yeah, that's probably true. You don't think about what's best for you or what you want. It's always about pleasing or taking care of others. Mm-hmm. You feel responsible for others' happiness and well-being. You're guilted or shamed if you want less contact, don't talk to your mother every week, or want to spend a holiday without your parents, or you make a choice that's good for you, such as move across the country for a great job opportunity. Your parents' self-worth seems to hinge on your success or accomplishments. Your parents want to know everything about your life. Your parents' life centers around yours. Your parents don't encourage you to follow your dreams and may impose their ideas about what you should be doing. So far, this is kind of tough because I do think that these are generally kind of like normal toxic traits that all families could potentially fall into. So I don't know. Like, a lot of this doesn't seem that particularly, like, none of it's good, right? But, like, I don't know. Isn't it just sort of natural to think about how your actions are going to affect your parents? And doesn't it make sense as a parent to want to know everything about your kid's life? Like, even if it's not feasible, aren't these things that kind of are going to happen from time to time? I don't know. Family members overshare personal experiences and feelings in a way that creates unrealistic expectations, unhealthy dependence, confused roles. Often, enmeshed parents treat their children as friends, rely on them for emotional support, and share inappropriate personal information. That's interesting. I don't know that I felt that way about my family, personally. Like, they were never oversharing about sexual stuff. I think, if anything, they were quite embarrassed about those kinds of conversations. I never felt like my parents were my friends, so... You feel like you have to meet your parents' expectations. Okay, I'm immediately suspicious, because there should be an apostrophe here. How professional is this? Is Psych Central. Perhaps giving up your own goals because they don't approve. I mean, yes, that's bad. You try to avoid conflicts and don't know how to say no. You don't have a strong sense of who you are. You absorb other people's feelings. Feel like you need to fix other people's problems. Jesus. Okay, this is shitty. Let's look at a different article on this. Because, you know what the problem is they're like confused family roles, but they don't say what the healthy version of what these roles should be. They're just like, well, the roles are confused, but it doesn't say, like, what the status quo should be. I mean, what is this? Is this a real thing? It's so fucking difficult to find good information today. This looks like a semi-decent website. Colorado's Center for Mental Health? So, some kind of center for mental health, I guess. Let's look at this. Sorry, I haven't looked at chat in a second. Hey. Thanks, Cindy Quick. You did it. You were Cindy Quick enough. You made it to Alive. My JW best friend had a family like this. The guilt and overbearing nature was insane. If you look at it along with family cults, you'll find more targeted overlap. Yeah. The family is always important to you. Important than you as an individual. Yeah. That's where I'm at. Yeah. it's basically the same behaviors as in a normal relationship to an unhealthy degree. I think if all of these traits are present, that is unhealthy. Yeah, let's see what this other article says. Because I think like 100% that the family relationship is unhealthy in Jehovah's Witnesses. I was talking with an ex-JW friend of mine last night, and we were talking about the being robbed of language thing, how you just don't even know how to articulate your feelings. And he was talking about the advice they give for happy families and how they'll explain kind of that you need to communicate, but they won't explain how you need to communicate. And it made me think, like, you know, families within Jehovah's Witnesses, we were talking about like marriage advice that Jehovah's Witnesses give. They make the same mistake. It's sort of like you are supposed to replace your fights and your arguments. You're supposed to replace that with Jehovah's Witness stuff. So because you're not getting along and you're not communicating well, if you do your Bible reading every day together, and if you have family worship and you go and you study for the meetings together, like that's kind of replacing healthy communication with the play acting of like, let's adopt this identity. Our marriage is shit because we got married when we were 18 and just wanted to have sex and we don't really have anything in common. And now we realize that we kind of hate each other. But what if we could just pretend that we did have a happy marriage and just kind of do all of this play acting stuff where you act like an elder and I act like a submissive wife and we say all these little catchphrases and then that feels like a happy family. Like that's kind of what I see. Now, like our family actually had like quite a good relationship. Like everybody in my family is like super funny and like fairly laid back. So family worship really was fun because a lot of times it was just kind of shooting the shit. And I felt comfortable, like if I had a problem with something or a question about a teaching, like I felt comfortable saying it. I think that's why it took me a long time to feel like I was in a high control group, because my subjective experience was that I felt a certain amount of leeway where I could doubt and still come back to, well, but it's the truth. And it was only when I started to think seriously about the ramifications of like, you can't even leave of your own free will. Like disassociation is treated the same as disfellowshipping. That's the part where I started to think like, oh no, I'm trapped. That was a bit of a tangent, but I think like there is a lot of subjective family experience, but there is necessarily, just because of the religion itself, there's going to be this toxic element. All right, so let's look at this. It's a word most of us have heard before, often when describing families that are extremely close and tightly wound. By the way, I have not heard of an enmeshed family before today. But what does it mean? Aren't families supposed to be close? Aren't we supposed to try to please our parents and siblings? Hey, Maria Drost Counseling Center, this is what I was saying when I read that shitty article. Doesn't being part of a family mean making sacrifices sometimes? Well, the answer is yes and no to all three questions. Nuance, the death of cults. Yes, the hope is that our families are our primary social communities. Little or big clusters of individuals who are related by birth or adoption, and who define themselves as members of that clan. Ideally, children are launched into their adult lives from these families, prepared to think for themselves and with a well-developed efficacy and identity of their own. This is doing everything I wanted that previous article. It's describing what the healthy version of this looks like. When families are enmeshed, however, this doesn't always happen. When children are raised to conform to their parents' expectations of who they are, what they believe, and how they think and feel, that individuation so necessary to being truly independent doesn't occur. Healthy families allow for differences in their members, adults and children alike. Growing up is a process of exploration, and healthy families allow for a child to develop according to their own individual and unique characteristics. Children who love art are encouraged and supported in that interest, even if mom doesn't value art herself. Children who love music or theater are supported in those interests, whether dad had football and soccer in mind or not. Children are not told how they should feel or think, but are encouraged to make up their minds and express what they are feeling without being judged. Oh boy, okay, so this is starting to be like, okay, don't go to whatever that fucking Psych Today bullshit was full of kind of generic, that was like the TikTok version of of what enmeshed families are, where people can just be like, okay, this is what narcissism is. If you're mean and say that you want to do something for yourself, your partner might be a narcissist. And then people are like, oh my God, they totally are. This feels like we're getting into the nuance of like, this is what this thing really is. And this, absolutely, yes, this does match my expectation. I said that, I've said it in previous streams, if you become a member of Alt-Worldly, you can look at some previous members-only streams that I did. Maybe we can do one today, actually. It's been a little while since I've done one. But I've showed off like my artwork from the past, like growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, and just that experience of when I was a little kid, my parents were more than happy to like buy me art supplies and sketchbooks and pens and pencils, and my mom like would put all of my little short stories and poems that I wrote in a 3-ring binder to make it like a little book. They were very supportive of that stuff. But as you get older and they have to start thinking like, oh, their career is supposed to be for Jehovah, then they start actively discouraging those things. And when I would bring home art from school, they would just be like, it's very dark. It looks very sad. I acted in a movie my senior year that my friend was making for their senior project. My senior project was writing a novel. We had to do like some kind of creative thing as part of it, and so that was mine. And one of my good friends, he wanted to be a director, and he made a movie. And I don't know why, but I was the male lead in his movie. I'm not a very good actor. I hope to God it doesn't exist on the internet somewhere. It exists as a DVD that I have and have never watched on purpose, and won't let Christina watch. But apparently, so we had a big premiere at the school, right? And I was a little embarrassed. It involved, there was supposed to be a kissing scene, and I was too scared, Jehovah's Witness, to do that. So I was like, what if I just kiss her on the forehead? And they allowed that. Ooh, we might just have another time for a little animal break. Hi. It's Peach's least favorite segment, which is the segment about her, because she likes to not be on camera. No, but you have to be. You have to be on camera, Peach.
She's trying so hard to not.
Here, I'll open the door for you. I forgot I had to close that because there was a fucking helicopter or something. All right, we had to go back in the pet corner real quick.
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Now, what do we mean by this?
We mean Peach. That's what we mean by that. We mean this, baby. She's a peach. She's a chihuahua. Oh, baby. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I don't know why. She, is so annoying. When I'm in here editing, she hates it. She'll whine at me to get out of this room.
Yeah, she just doesn't like this room.
She doesn't like it at all. It's because it's where the cats hang out. And she's just like, this is not my spot. This is not for me. Oh, baby, thank you for giving us a little peach break.
Yes.
We have a pee break, and then we have a peach break, which is very different. She's soaking up the love. Live stream that movie for us? Fuck no. Okay, if I can find it, I might. But boy, oh boy, I gotta be in a certain state of mind to tolerate that. I'm gonna be so embarrassed. I really don't like it. But okay, so we had this premiere at the school. We made movie posters and sold little tickets and gave it to charity because it was about abuse, kids who are abused by their parents. So I was abused by my dad, my friend's dad, which was weird. But my parents saw it and they were like, "You were so good." And my dad told me the next day, he was like, "I was really afraid that there was going to be someone from Hollywood there and they would convince you to go to Hollywood." Dad, that was not a good movie. I was not I don't want to be an actor, don't worry. But I was thinking but I do want to go to fucking art school. I would like to go. I did want to go to LA to pursue comedy and so I could go to UCB improv classes and shit. But it was just consistently very discouraging to be told, well, you can't really do that because you gotta do stuff for Jehovah. So now we're getting into a thing Children should be able to develop their own interests according to their individual and unique characteristics, and that those loves and hobbies should be supported, even if the parents don't support. Like, that's very obvious, right? It's very obvious. But now that I'm reading it out loud, it's like, yeah, that is toxic, isn't it? It's quite bad. As children grow older, enmeshed families can hit heavy walls of conflict when the natural, healthy questioning of adolescence challenges parents with too rigid expectations for their children's behavior. Teenagers are supposed to differ from their parents, and they often need a few years of wide variance from their parents before they settle into what feels right to them. That's a healthy process. Families that are enmeshed often have a set of spoken or unspoken rules that govern the members' behaviors, even into adulthood. Do these sound familiar to you? Ooh. Don't talk to outsiders about what goes on in our family. That is our business and our business only. Yes, I would say that that's a thing. For all Jehovah's Witnesses, it's like in the spiritual family too. Like, keep that shit in the family. What mom and dad say / believe / think / feel about you is what is right. Never mind that you are 45 years old and have been on your own for 27 years. Yeah. True. Based Maria Drost Counseling Center, unfortunately. It's okay for you to be a little bit different from us in some ways, but there is a line that you can't cross in this family and still be accepted. Maybe you can't be a Democrat or a gay person or marry outside of our race. Yeah. The cost of being different is to be cut off. We cannot accept differences that challenge our rigid sense of who this family is. Even as adults, we will conform to the wishes of the family instead of make your own mind. What is going on? Neither site could word this correctly. Instead of making your own mind up about how, where, and with whom you wish to live your life. Okay. This is very interesting. Enmeshed families. We're learning things. I had never heard this term. I do think that although I had quite... Yeah, I literally said word for word by my parents. Oof. Oh, fuck. What's the Ted Cruz clip? Everyone was lame in high school. We're the age now our cringe is funny. That's true. Do not kill the part of you that is cringe. Is that the expression? Is it as bad as the Ted Cruz "Why Are You Persecuting Me" play? Oh, God. Well, by the way, if we wanted to move into spicy half of the stream, that fucking Tucker Carlson speech is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. So creepy. And you know a lot of JWs were nodding along to sometimes daddy needs to come in and give little daughter, who's 15 in this scenario, a spanking. Creepy. Very creepy. I think that I've kind of let folks down. We haven't looked at a proper video. So before we talk about a very different kind of cult, let's look at what's new in the video department. So we've got Harold Corcoran. Really, really boring. One of the more boring people. Willingly love your brothers. Incredible. Just a command. Love your brothers, god damn it. And you're going to do it willingly, stupid. We just started watching American Dad last night, which we'd never seen before. And it's fantastic. It's great. It's a great cartoon. A lot of funny voices, too. And there is a quote that just blew my fucking mind at just how smart it was. The conceit is like, the dad is this Republican who works for the CIA, and, you know, his daughter's a liberal, he has a space alien, his son, a family, blah, blah, blah. But there's this episode where he thinks his neighbors are terrorists for no reason, and his daughter's, like, pushing against it. And he says, she's like, do you have any proof? And he's like, proof? These people are destroying us, and you want proof? And is that not the entire persecution complex? Oh, God. These people are destroying us, and you want proof of what I'm saying? I love that. Oh, man. Okay, so Ralph Walls. This sounds really culty. Protect your thinking ability. So as we know, this guy is really quite a sexual pervert in the Tucker Carlson vein. The main vein that Ralph Walls likes to drain, because he famously said in the Pillow videos, that there is no season in which the male animal is not willing to engage in the breeding act, or some really creepy, stilted way of saying that men be horny and women never want to give it up for sex, at least with old Ralph. Okay, so before we get into this, I do have to take, we had a peach break, for sure. That absolutely happened, but I also have to take a pee break. So...
Have you ever been confronted by a bad report, a false report about Jehovah's people? Angry? Did God really say that? Now that was a lie. Satan here's one. A lie. Nothing. No. Well, I know this lady.
Sorry. That was quite a productive pee break. It's now officially a wake and bake stream, folks. Okay, so this occurred to me while I was, I'll say it, peeing. But I've got a way better, I just have used that because it's an awkward silence clip that happens to be 2 minutes long. So it's a pretty decent sound drop for a break. But it doesn't have anything to do with taking a pee. And I'm kind of realizing, hey, wait a minute. I think I've got a good, at the very least, good start to a sound drop. So let me pull this up. I'll get your input on this. By the way, if you haven't tuned into last week's Sunday service, go over to the Alt Worldly channel. It's on there. Or actually, no, I think I'll go ahead and just release it on this channel. But we had a lot of fun poop spotting. We watched a talk that I need to edit for the Awkward Silence Super Guide, and we just went through it and looked for funny things. Tried to brainstorm some comedy beats for this edit. So that was a lot of fun, and that seemed to be everybody's favorite part of the stream. So I definitely want to do that in the future. What do I want to do here? I want to go to YouTube Studio. God damn it, these fucking cats. You know what they do? They come in here. They're pooping the cats. They're pooping the dogs. They come into our second bedrooms and they take a poop in the litter box. They call it a litter box, folks. Not a very good Trump impression. Okay, there's a specifically this edit where I remember Kenny Cookie. There was a joke about pee, so we gotta find that and we gotta look at it just to kind of remember our roots here on the all new Sunday service thing. God damn it! What the fuck? Where is this? Is it? Where's my Kenny Cookie? Where's my Kenny Cookie YouTube poop? Why can't I find this? Where's Kenny Cookie reads Peter Threader? Okay, I found it. I maintain that I'm pretty sure the name is funnier than the actual edit.
Member of the governing body, Brother Kenny Cookie.
Let's just kind of reflect on this. Go down memory lane here.
Hi. On behalf of the government.
Okay, so this is not it. I believe it happens a little later.
Gave man and a great prostitute who corrupted a regular physician. And if...
Okay, this edit kind of sucks overall, but there's some good moments.
Men. After you come, your warm come is very much needed with your local congregation.
No, this isn't
and
the
if
part.
possible, me. Satan and his world are also attempting to pee. What a relief. Imagine Jehovah coming quickly.
That's what I was thinking, is like, Satan is attempting to pee. What a relief. And then I could just do a Kenneth Cook awkward silence thing.
And if possible, me. Satan and his world are also attempting to pee. What a relief.
I could probably make him sound like he's saying alt worldly is attempting to pee. What a relief. I love the hi. It's really good because it's just out of context. He's in the actual original thing. He's like, the standards to applying to Bethel are high. But it's just, if you just isolate it, it's like, hi. It just sounds sarcastic. So, fun stuff. Seth Hyatt really is a goober, is he not? Is he not a goober? I ask you. Okay, so let's go to Ralph Walls, the smooth criminal. Oh my god! Okay, well, no, sorry. Now I have to show you another poop that I made one time. That was really funny. Although, goddammit, I'm not at the correct thing. Alright, I will try to pull this up as I'm doing this, but just saying we're at war that's crazy. That's crazy to say that, isn't it? Like, if you're trying to manage your website to be less culty so you don't get in as much trouble at court, you probably shouldn't start out your things like that. You shouldn't say crazy things like that. It's the one that starts with the hi Tony, like it's that one. So it might be the very first, it might be the first awkward silent supercard, as a matter of fact. Is it Tony Morris renounces God in the organization? I hope you're okay for a little chaos. I mean, we are in the spicy part of the stream. Oh wait, not something we want. We want. Okay, I don't know if. Oh shit! Apparently, like Vic Berger's got the lock on this song that he uses for his Donald Trump edit. So I have to fast forward through this very funny thing. But this part's pretty good. The slow-mo into David's Plane's funny. But is this where he says, this is war? Okay, let's see. No, it's not this one. It's not. Oh, I know I've got it on my TikTok. This is important, guys. I make these edits for a reason. To watch when I'm high and make myself laugh. Uh-oh. You're seeing my liberal agenda. Oh, why the fuck do I have 29 profile messages? What the hell is happening? I think it's my high... Okay, this is a pretty highly viewed one. Damn it. It's not this. This is the Jehovah one. It starts... I remember it starts like right away with... There we go. I think this is it. No sound on the TikTok! That's unfortunate. Why the fuck is there not a sound on the TikTok? Oh no. Not as good as your Sam Hurd. Sam Hurd is pretty good. Singing. All right, well. Oh! It says, my browser has lost connection to the screen share audio. Can you still hear me? How about me? Can you hear that? I'm going to remove this from the screen. Try sharing it again. Okay, I'm okay, so it's just... Let me tell you something. We're doing pretty good. I was watching a Lonerbox stream the other day, and, like, literally... No shade if he watches this, but I am clearly throwing shade and saying that I'm better. There's a lot of fucking technical work for a stream. And, you know, all things considered, we're doing okay. Let's see. Is this, can you hear this now? There is a weird thing happening where there's like an alert saying that it's like sharing it twice.
So now we're going to give attention to Brother Tony Morris. Hi, Tony.
Can you hear this?
Hi, Tony.
This is war. That's the point. This is war. They're going to be sensational.
Hi,
They
Tony.
really are. Now, another word for sensational is astonishing. Another one is astounding. Another one is rocks. Another one is shipwreck. Another one is anchor.
Hi, Tony.
Another word for sensational, devastating.
I really like... I like that moment where he just seems like he's like... David, will you shut up for a second? Can you see Bo here, by the way? Here's my man. Here, buddy. Show up on camera. Oh, he being silly. Why are you being silly? Show your face so we can play the animal soundtrack again. There's our boy. We must make him big. Here's our big boy. Mr. Bo. Ho, ho, ho. Hey, Bo. Say hello. It's a good boy. Now, he kind of doesn't fit the definition of harmless animal, but...
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
There we go. All right, so this is war. I think I've got to, if I end up making an edit of this Ralph Walls thing, which remains to be seen. I mean, maybe it's boring after this, but there's war. Also, I liked the, yes, like Melania saying to Trump hello. Exactly. Hi, Tony. Oh, my God, I forgot about that. It's really good. I also liked, I forgot that I did this, just like showing the end of the talk where he walks off stage and then reversing it so he looks like he walks on there backwards. That's pretty funny. Should return to that.
The fact is, we are at war.
It's a fact.
There is an intense battle to control our minds. We have the spirit of the world which surrounds us and can infect our thinking.
There is an intense battle to control our minds?
To the world which surrounds us and can infect our thinking. Intense battle to control our minds.
Yeah, an intense battle to control our minds.
And on top of that, each of us has a traitor within him.
Whoa.
All of us do. Our heart, which the Bible describes as more treacherous than anything else.
Just an encouraging, nice morning worship talk. There's a traitor living inside of you. What does he sound like? Because some people have said he sounds like Droopy Dog, which I think is true. He's definitely giving Droopy. He's giving Droopy energy.
Now, when we consider the forces that we're fighting against in this war, we could not possibly win the war on our own. But with help from Jehovah, we can't lose. Now, sadly, the enemy has been able to get some from among us, and these have become battle casualties.
Whoa.
But as long as we keep on the complete suit of armor described in the Bible in the book of Ephesians chapter 6,
oh, they love this.
We're going to avoid becoming a casualty.
There's a really crazy complete suit of armor picture. I don't remember if I ended up using this in a video or not, but I like pulled it up. I downloaded it, and now I can't find it. There's one where it's like, this is what they're talking about. Whoa. Hang on a second. Did they like make an amiibo of the suit of armor guy? What is this? Yeah, they do this thing, and they've got like, yeah, okay. This. Why is it so tiny? But this, like, the suit of armor is not just an allegory of, like, you gotta arm yourself. The Bible goes through, like, the breastplate of righteousness and stuff like that. So they're like, okay, the breastplate is what stops you from smoking cigarettes. Your sword is the Bible. Or maybe it's this girl wearing the sweatshirt. Not clear. The sandals of showing attracts to people at school. The helmet of reading the Bible and thinking about stuff. The groin belt of not believing in evolution. And the shield of participating in weekly meetings. There's one that is like this, and it's like a lady in a business casual, like, pantsuit doing it. It's really great. Looks like World War II propaganda.
There's no secret formula. It's right there in the scriptures. And there's one particular part of the armor.
Does he not know that there's secret formulas and recipes all over the scriptures? I mean, they talk about that all the time.
That relates to our text for today that we'd like to center on. And that is the helmet of salvation.
Oh. Now, what am I doing? Why am I pulling up videos and pictures in another tab when apparently he's just going to show us all the best pictures? I love this. They're so proud, by the way, if you don't know this. They're very proud of the fact that they're, like, historically accurate, that they'll go to museums and be like, what did a Roman helmet look like in the Bible year of 23 AD? I obviously don't know anything about time or the Bible. But these are supposedly accurate. How elaborate. And he's got, like, this neck kerchief. He looks like Rocket Raccoon from the last movie.
Does the Bible use?
Sorry. I believe it is, in fact, Endgame, where he has the little red scarf. It's the cutest rocket.
Use the expression helmet of salvation. Well, because just as a soldier was protecting his head where his brain was,
if you will,
which drives all of the senses.
Wow. This is the kind of spiritual food you could only get on jw.org. You see, the soldier had to put on a helmet to protect his brain because the brain controls all the other parts of your body. We know that. That's why you have to smash zombies' heads in, because you have to destroy their brain.
Brain was, which drives all of the senses. So the helmet of salvation protects our minds.
The helmet of salvation.
The March 2021 Watchtower, page 20.
Try and think of jokes, if you're thinking of anything funny that he's saying. He's got a few isolated words that are good. I mostly am just enjoying this because he was like, this is war. And then we can make a very silly war that he's talking about.
29.
And we can also say that, like, the helmet represents diarrhea. That would be very hard for him to say. It'd be hard to make it sound like he said diarrhea, unless he surprises us in the back half of this thing and does in fact talk about diarrhea. I think at jw.org first
says this: Jehovah will protect you. How? Well, just as a literal helmet protects a soldier's head, the hope of salvation protects our thinking ability. And that hope keeps us focused on God's promises and helps us to see problems in the right perspective. And that's a lot to digest. But think about this.
That's a lot to digest is good, because we could have him talk about eating food, a lot of food, and be like, that's a lot to digest.
Ability.
Or cum. You know, we can always, they say come a lot. That one's always easy.
Is not to be confused with independent thinking.
Oh.
Which Satan promotes. One indication of independent thinking is to question the counsel that we receive from the visible part of Jehovah's organization through the faithful slave.
Oh. All right, so what did we just talk about with enmeshed families, right? He's talking about independent thinking is literally wrong. So instead of parents encouraging independent thinking in their child and motivating that by letting them pursue their passions and their unique independence, no, that's wrong. That's what Satan does, to try and trick you into thinking that the governing body is not so smart.
From the visible part of Jehovah's organization through the faithful slave. For example,
Crafty.
God's organization has given us warnings time and again.
He had a real, that was kind of like a latter-day Trump dementia aphasia, which I'm allowed to make fun of because I had it for the first 35 minutes of this stream.
Well, God's organization has given...
Let's go ahead and do 1.2 for Ralphie.
Warnings time and again about listening to certain types of music, watching out for pornographic material, being very careful, frequenting clubs.
Well, now it's kind of a patriotic obligation to make an edit at this point, because anytime they talk about pornography, that's a real freebie. You know, it can be hard work to make them say the word penis or porn, but here they are, just throwing it out there for us. Talking about different kinds of music. So Satan is going to try and penetrate your brain, your sweet brain meats, if you don't put on that special helmet of righteousness that's going to keep you away from porn and certain kinds of music.
God's organization has given us warnings time and again about listening to certain types of music, watching
Dial
out
is
for
cooking in chat.
pornographic material, being very careful, frequenting clubs and worldly dance halls, and the improper use of alcoholic beverages.
The improper use. What is the proper use of alcoholic beverages? Just to sip on for no reason, just purely for the taste. That's the proper use. That or at the memorial, where most people won't drink it and it'll just totally go to waste.
And there are other matters too, but
Other
thinking
matters.
ability will prevent us from rationalizing that such counsel really doesn't apply to me. I know how to skirt around the problems that these things might bring.
Oh, we have a great I statement. I know how to is a thing you rarely get in one of these talks, so that's great.
Skirt around the problems that these things might bring. But unfortunately, there is independent thinking that at times comes from our very fellow worshipers. For example, have you ever heard someone say, "You're still just a housewife"?
Whoa.
Times have changed. Why don't you go get a job? Or the expression, pioneering is not for everyone. You need more training and education if you're going to make it in today's world.
Wow. This is very surprising. They're so stupid. These guys are so stupid. Here's all they have to do. Is what they already do, actually, and have an internal database of all their videos that not everybody has access to. So something they have at various branch departments. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show, but I got some interesting leaks, but they're genuinely very hard. I don't know how to access this stuff. But they use this server, this service that companies will use to host their education videos for training. Like at my job, and I think at pretty much every job, you have to do little HR training things every few times a year, education modules. So we always have to do one on airborne infections and hand washing and stuff because I work at a hospital. You just have to do this training every year. But so Watchtower has access to a service that hosts all of their videos. And they have a lot of really specific ones. He was showing me just, he can't even see the thumbnail. Well, no, I think a few of them had thumbnails. But this person worked in some kind of higher up position, or had a friend who was PMO. And so, if you work the sound department at Bethel, if you work in the sound mixing department where they're adding music and sound effects in the final edits of the latest Jada Nita video, you have to have a training module so you know how their equipment works at Bethel. So they've got training videos for every little thing, really granular stuff that most people would think is boring, but I want to see that. I want to see the dorky videos. So they've got that. That's what they should do for all of their videos that are not specifically aimed at the public. Sometimes I like to give Watchtower PR advice. If I was brought in as some kind of contractor, if I worked for the Massimo Intervene Pro Cult Incorporation or whatever it is, like, I would tell them, your jw.org website can only have the videos that you specifically want to show people in the ministry. It shouldn't have any of this stuff. This stuff should be exclusive to Jehovah's Witnesses because it obviously makes them look really culty and creepy. They shouldn't, if they don't want to be in this embarrassing position where they have to keep deleting their embarrassing cult videos because any courts, any lawyer prosecuting them, any human rights group who wants to bring charges can just go to their official website and search for certain keywords and immediately find really cringy stuff. Well, that's really stupid. That's really dumb. The Mormons don't do that. Like, they have a Mormon YouTube channel for the LDS Church. It's their official channel, and they've got things like the guy from The Killers talking about his experience being a Mormon, Brandon Flowers, which I recorded a video about and then never finished. That would be smart, right? It would not be smart to have this video on there where he's like, some people say that it's wrong to be just a housewife. We know that's not true. You should be a housewife, bitches. Like, it's not really on message, PR-wise. Like, the PID department is really limited in what they're able to do when their website is an endless generator of the cultiest, creepiest corporate cult shit you ever seen.
Let them tap your talents and skills.
We never want them to do that.
I feel the best way to help my disfellowship relative is to stay in touch with him.
How stupid are they? How fucking stupid are they? So they delete... Shit, let me make sure I download this. They will probably delete this soon. I'm not kidding. Or they will edit out this one part. But this is really dumb. If they just deleted the shun unrepentant wrongdoers, they just have gone through all the trouble of eradicating the word disfellowshipped as a thing. And then they, after doing that, after releasing these articles, and they're studying it right now at the meeting, right? Like, they're literally studying it right now. They release a video where one of their big higher up guys is like bringing up reasonable objections to Jehovah's Witnesses about disfellowshipping and just still using that term. Very stupid. Never overestimate these men. You know, we should estimate their cruelty, but don't overestimate them. They don't have a plan. They don't think about this stuff. These departments are not being directed by Holy Spirit, so things like this slip through the cracks
Talents and
of
skills.
their butt cheeks.
I feel the best way to help my disfellowship relative is to stay in touch with him. But you know what? Thinking ability.
You know what?
Is what protects us from these and other reasonings that...
Wow, your thinking ability is what allows you to not think about these very reasonable things that we just said. Sorry, I talked over him.
But you know what? Thinking ability is what protects us from these and other reasonings that don't reflect Jehovah's thinking on matters. Since God created us in his image, it's only logical and realistic that we can have thinking ability only if we adopt God's way of thinking.
Wow, talk about a weasel word. We haven't really seen this in recent memory.
Like
but...
Jehovah's thinking on matters. And since God created us in his image, it's only logical.
It's only logical and realistic to think
that we can have thinking ability only if we adopt God's way of thinking.
See, this is how they just rhetorically bolster confidence in their insane things. It's what Trump does too, right? What he can never just say that a thing is good. It had to be the best thing. The best people told him, and it was actually the best. It was actually the biggest crowd ever. It was actually even bigger than Martin Luther King's crowd, which is what he said like recently, like a month ago, that his inauguration rally was bigger than any crowd Martin Luther King ever had. And all these fucking cuck journalists just stood there and never challenged him on it. Assholes. Useless corporate media. But he does that. And Jehovah's Witnesses do that a lot because their reasoning is incredibly tenuous, but they just have to sound really confident about it. And they're like, I mean, it's only reasonable to assume that the only way we could even be a free thinker and to use our thinking ability is by thinking like God, which you can only do if you study the little magazines and books that we make and worship the governing body. I mean, trust everything they say and do no matter what. That's
Would you read
different from
with me,
worship.
please, Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 7? Notice. The fear of Jehovah.
Oh, it's a gift. This is a gift from Jehovah God himself.
Is the beginning of knowledge. In the latter part, only...
Hey, keep this scripture in mind. This is an important scripture for Not a Cult. Unironically.
Would you read with me, please, Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 7? Notice. The fear of Jehovah is the beginning of knowledge.
The fear of Jehovah is the beginning of knowledge.
In the latter part, only fools despise wisdom and discipline.
Incredible. So this is also really sneaky. They did pull a sneaky one on you here, which is they made effortlessly made the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses synonymous with knowledge and wisdom. And like, yes, of course, it would be stupid to reject knowledge and wisdom, but that's not what's happening. God, wait a minute. Oh my God, are we lucky enough? Ralph, that's not what's happening.
That is not what is happening. That is not what is happening.
Ralph, that's not what's happening. People aren't rejecting Jehovah's Witnesses because they are rejecting knowledge and reason. They're going away from Jehovah's Witnesses because they do have those things. They asked those questions that you asked earlier as if they were ridiculous, and they took those questions seriously, and they thought that the religion, isn't true and doesn't make any sense and is harmful and abusive due to things like this. But what Ralph is doing, and what he's trying to make happen, is to say that the fear of Jehovah is the beginning of knowledge, which means, the fear of displeasing Jehovah's Witness arrangements. That's the beginning of knowledge. You can't really be smart and think at all unless you fear being disfellowshipped, a phrase he uses earlier.
Jehovah is the beginning of knowledge. In the latter part, only fools despise wisdom and discipline.
What a Fool Believes. A great song, one of my favorites of all time. But, yeah, he's wrong. So, only fools despise wisdom and discipline with this fucking face. Like, checkmate, atheists. No, that's not what's happening. We're not despising wisdom and discipline by thinking that your religion is a cult and that your beliefs are embarrassing, which is why you keep telling people not to trust any criticisms of it or go online and read stuff or get higher education or just not be constantly busy doing Jehovah's Witness stuff all the time. So that wasn't what was happening. We did it. I don't have a closing for That's Not What's Happening, which is unfortunate. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this. That was also kind of a nitpick.
Why is it necessary to be so picky, to be so fussy?
Thank you. Very good. All right. To my 69 nice concurrent viewers, let's get on with it.
Now, in large, most respond.
They do this thing. Regular viewers of the Altworldly channel will know, first of all, that I pause every 1 second and I talk a lot. But also that the, you know how I misspeak all the fucking time? They, when they misspeak, well, let me do a bit of a contrast. That's what you have to do. This election, we've been talking about that. It's about making a contrast. So, me, when I make a mistake, that's just there in the closed captions forever. Sometimes they can't even keep up with my mistake, and you'll just get a question mark. We don't know. We don't know what the hell is going on. You're right, I should enlarge. And my opponent here, Ralph Walls, he's saying something wrong, but then just correcting it in the subtitles as if he said the thing he was supposed to say.
Now, enlarge.
Yeah. See, that's not actually an expression. Enlarge. By and large is a real expression. By the way, can you not see that the Holy Spirit is like beaming upon the stream? This is really crazy. Like the sun has never shone through. Oh, Cindy was quick to point out, no, I didn't mean make your face bigger. We don't actually need that. I meant grab that clip. Absolutely. Enlarge. Fuck, I didn't even hear it. I'm so stupid. God damn it, you're right. Enlarge. He's going to say direction at some point, and that means that if you just snip off the beginning, he definitely will say erection at some point. So you've got erection, enlarge, pornography. You know, we've got a lot of like buckets at that we can put our little things into. We can have sex jokes, we can have eating jokes, clothing jokes. Did they learn enlarge in SKE? This is like a guy in the teaching committee. Like, this is one of the smartest guys they have. His knowledge, which, of course, like all of us, began with the fear of God, but we can see his wisdom and how foolish it would be to not believe this man or take him seriously. Enlarge, it would be a mistake. By and large. That would be a good, like, sitcom supermarket. All right. Be kind to yourself, Lord.
Most respond favorably to Jehovah's way of thinking.
What? That's not true. That's literally not true. In large, the majority of human beings are not Jehovah's Witnesses. So this is a lie. Everything he's saying is a lie.
In large, most respond favorably to Jehovah's way of thinking.
No,
that's
simply
why we're
not
part
true.
of a beautiful organization that is at peace with itself and knows how to navigate the problems of the world.
This is like no puppet. You're the puppet. It's or like how Trump would be like, no, actually Kamala is showing signs of cognitive decline. Like, why are you bringing this up? This is clearly on your mind a lot. Like, contrary to what you may have heard, we are not constantly warring internally and kicking out governing body members who get in the way of our plans, and we're not purging the tapes. We're not changing shit all the time because we're floundering. No, we're at peace with ourselves. And I also said another thing.
Itself and knows how to navigate the problems of the world.
We do actually know how to navigate the problems of the world. I know it seems from the outside that we actually have no idea how the world works. We especially don't know how the United Nations work, which is why we had to change our doctrine to a thing that makes maybe even less sense. Stay tuned for my next video. But yeah, this is a weird self-report. It's like, I have not been owned. I'm not owned while shrinking into a corn cob. Ralph kind of corn cobbed on Maine today.
We're being trained by Jehovah to use our thinking ability individually, but not independently.
Yes.
Though,
yes. That's the
Bible principles generally allow for varying conclusions on matters. But when we think independently of God, then that's when we get into trouble. We give in to our own selfish, sinful inclinations. But we undoubtedly make Jehovah's heart glad when we do what the Bible describes.
Undoubtedly. It makes him the most glad, and many people are saying that. It's not just that we're saying that you're going to make God happy. It's undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. Now, keep in mind, for the video tomorrow, where I ran about Jeffrey Jackson's talk, where he announces this new light on the Great Tribulation, they'll just make fun of the old teaching. When they make a shift in doctrine, they talk about it as if it was ridiculous. And he actually, I caught that motherfucker in the act of making a mistake, much like Wallace here. He's made a few. Jackson says that previously we assumed that this was the case. He said it was an assumption. That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Because that's not what they said early when they announced the teaching, when they're rolling it out like they're doing now with Jeffrey Jackson. They say, undoubtedly this is the case. Can't we see Jehovah's hand? We know that the light gets brighter, and now we know this thing. Like, they're so sure of it. And then they gaslight their members into being like, well, you know, we were just assuming that maybe this is how it worked before. But now we've got, and they just totally ignore the fact that they taught it as an undoubted and undoubtable truth, and that it would be satanic to not believe it, because that would be questioning God, for he has appointed people like Ralph Walls to their respective positions.
Well, if you turn there on your devices to 2 Corinthians chapter 10, notice what he says there in verses 4 and 5 under inspiration.
Under inspiration. I got to add that in. Like, notice what he said. And he's not just saying stuff. God told him to write this. And it applies to modern day Jehovah's Witnesses.
Of our warfare are not fleshly, but powerful
fleshly.
By God for overturning.
By God is pretty good. You can make it sound like he's, doing an exclamation. He's like, by God, my erection, something.
But powerful by God for overturning strongly entrenched things. For we are overturning reasonings and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God. And we are bringing every thought into captivity to make it obedient to the Christ.
Obedient to the Christ.
And it's a beautiful thing to see among Jehovah's people in general.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Godly thinking allows us to see the consequences of our actions before we take the action, whether the consequences are going to be good or bad. Now, the nation of Israel...
I don't think we've talked about this, but this is a frequent talking point of Jehovah's Witnesses. I would hear this all the time, that the world, they say that the best way to learn is to make mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. And witnesses say, no. The best way to learn is from the Bible, which will help you not make those mistakes in the first place. So he's saying a thing that like witnesses will immediately understand the connotation of, which is like, no, you don't just need to live and learn and adjust later. You need to just read the Bible, and we will tell you what the Bible means. We will give you these little moral lessons about what you shouldn't do, because this person in the Bible tried to do things their own way, and look what happened to them. They were burned into a pile of shit, or whatever happens to people in Bible times when they disobeyed God.
Was privileged to have Jehovah's guidance in detail. But as a whole, what happened?
A whole.
They refused it. Moses, if you turn to Deuteronomy chapter 32.
Whoa, is he commanding Moses?
There's
Moses, if you'd like to turn with me.
Inspired to say of them in verses 28 and 29, this. For they are a nation devoid of sense. We might say common sense. Or as a footnote
We might say that. Or as the footnote says, the footnote which was added by really only Jehovah's Witnesses, because it's their Bible that they translated, deaf to advice.
Deaf to advice. And there's no understanding among them. Verse 29. If only they were wise, they would ponder over this. They would think about their outcome.
If only they were wise, they would ponder over the Bible. Wise people would not disagree with us. They would just ponder over what we're saying and just keep pondering over and over until they realize that we're right, or else.
Ponder over this. They would think about their outcome. Isn't that beautiful? Jehovah allows us to see the outcome of any action that we take. Now, in these last days, thinking ability is being put to the greatest test of all time, with Satan practicing greater deception than ever before.
It's the biggest test of thinking ability, with Satan giving the biggest challenge he's ever given us. Satan, when you think about Satan, he comes up and he says, "Sir, I don't want to mislead people."
One of the helps that Jehovah's organization has provided is the publication Scriptures for Christian
Living. Oh, don't worry. I clocked it.
And let me read to you what the introduction of that publication said. Scriptures for Christian Living will make it easy for you to locate Bible verses and accounts.
This is good. Let's stop down on this comment from Dr. Dotchamp, which says, the Israelites being miserable for hundreds of years was just for our education, you see. And that's really true. Like, that's how they interpret it, as a big cautionary tale. What they will never acknowledge is like, well, okay, they were led astray and then lost God's favor, and the faithful and discreet slave in the Bible is clearly and obviously a parable, not a prophecy. But if you pretend that it's a prophecy that contains the possibility of an evil slave So who's to say that Jehovah's Witnesses couldn't be led astray like the Israelites and lose God's favor, and that the faithful and discreet slave is now the evil slave? I mean, like, I think that's kind of the premise of Rolf Ferruli's book, that, like, Dutch circuit overseer. I can never remember where he's from, sorry. Or maybe he's Norwegian. But that's kind of his thing. His book was called My Beloved Religion and the Governing Body, and he basically felt like there was some time when the religion really did have the truth and everything was fine. They just gotta make Jehovah's Witnesses great again. If they go back to the 1950s, it'll all be saved. Rolf Ferruli, kind of dubious figure. Let's go to this, because I actually have no idea what this scripture for Christian Living publication is.
Let me read to you what the introduction of that publication says. Scriptures for Christian Living will make it easy for you to locate Bible verses and accounts that can help you deal with the challenges you face. You will soon find a wealth of relevant and useful counsel, guidance, and comfort from God's Word.
Comfort from God's Word.
What a wonderful privilege we have to be taught by Jehovah.
Ugh.
Final text, Proverbs.
So, I need people to understand. I know that, lawyers, the legal system's checking in, so they know how to combat Jehovah's Witnesses on their number one source, this live stream 3 hours in. What he just did is exactly why this is a cult, right? What a wonderful privilege we have to be taught by Jehovah. Now, Jehovah, of course, is not teaching them anything because he's invisible and doesn't speak at all. It'd be great if he did. There would be much less confusion, but that's not what's happening. And we don't have time to play another game of that's not what's happening, but they're not being taught by Jehovah. They're being taught by the governing body. And so everything that is printed in the publications, like he just read the introduction to this little pamphlet that they made, cited it as if it was scripture. It's given that same reverence, because even though it was written by imperfect men who they say are not inspired, it is also how Jehovah is teaching them. So all of the publications, all of the videos, including this exact talk that he's saying, I mean, this is a little dog whistle to say you are being taught by Jehovah right now. And so that's something that is easy to miss out on. Pennsylvania Attorney General, that cool judge from earlier. This is what you guys to know. This is what's going on.
We have to be taught by Jehovah.
Josh Shapiro.
Final text, Proverbs chapter 3, verses 21 and 22.
Yeah, it's like they're plugging it.
Safeguard practical wisdom and thinking ability. They will give you life.
Very easy gay. We can make gay very easily because he said they and just stopped. I've been having a really hard time with this awkward silence supercut because they don't have a lot of just isolated A's. You know, that's my thorn in the flesh. What can I say? Oh, that was the end. What a horrible talk. What a disastrous talk. Look forward to that being edited. At least that little part where he says disfellowshipped. But that's a pretty damning video. Probably it's not a good idea to have it on their website. In general, as I explained, it's bad that they have any of this on their website. But anyway, let's watch that creepy Tucker Carlson clip. We did talk about it. Fucker Carlson. Oh, no. Hang on. I gotta switch to the one that I have YouTube Premium on, so I don't have to watch any ads. Sorry, Heliocentric. I'm not going to give you that ad money. You'll just get that YouTube Premium money. Okay, so Tucker Carlson rally speech. This is a short, which means it can't possibly contain all of it. All right.
I think Donald Trump's singular contribution to this country and the world is by his presence exposing...
Oh, wait, what? This comment says it doesn't even include... Oh, shit, there's a live Donald Trump Madison Square Garden thing. Should we look at that? No, let's do this first.
Kamala Harris shouldn't have a job!
Whoa! What happened? He, turned into the Riddler. Kamala Harris! Turned into Yago.
Kamala Harris shouldn't have a job. She has no skills.
No!
We wind up with this where Kamala Harris, you couldn't change the tire on your truck, much less drive it. How did she wind up at the top of the pyramid?
So just misogyny. It's just blatant misogyny. He's saying, how is this possible? Because she's a woman and black. That's it. I mean, the reason why she's there is because She was handpicked by Joe Biden because she was a presidential nominee anyway and had been vetted and was more progressive than him. We thought. No, we don't know anymore. But she had been a district attorney for a long time. So she had, done cool lawyer stuff. And, that's it. That's why. And she was on the Senate. So that's why she's there. JD Vance, by the way, was a senator for less than a year and has missed the vast majority of votes in the great state of Ohio, which is pretty annoying, pretty shameful, because we've had a lot of shenanigans here in Ohio. And this guy doesn't turn out for the last, 43 votes, I think.
And then once she's there, she lectures you. Like, you did something. It's too much. You can't allow that. It's an offense against the truth. Against...
Wow, it's the truth. I'm not saying that there is a weird, repressed homoeroticism to all Nazis, but it seems kind of like there is, though.
Reality and against justice itself. And the second reason you can't allow it is very familiar to anyone who has children. Which is, if you allow it, you will encourage more of it.
They're truly the worst. They don't even define what God is. It depends on what you mean by is, or God, or believe, or Canada, or Jesus Christ. Whether or not he was resurrected even, actually. And it's very complicated. I would need 5 minutes. I don't know if anybody watched and I had to give up, but he did a bizarre debate with Richard Dawkins, who's, not my favorite either, but he was on the right side of this conversation. You can just tell he's really annoyed by Jordan Peterson, because obviously Richard Dawkins is all aboard the, anti-woke train, but he has dedicated his life to debating crazy evangelical Christians, and, he's talked to Dinesh D'Souza, and Jordan Peterson's not so different. And so it was pretty crazy, but there is a point where Jordan Peterson's like, I'm going to need 5 minutes to explain the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And he actually talks for 7 minutes. It's absolutely crazy. Matt Walsh, does he kind of has a low voice? I have literally never even attempted this before. Yeah, this guy sucks, but it does feel of a piece with JW Broadcasting, doesn't it?
If you allow people to get away with things that are completely over the top and outrageous,
which clearly Tucker Carlson hates over the top and outrageous behavior. Okay, so this is to echo a take I saw on social media at the time. But listen, people, you have to understand, I'm on a social media cleanse, so I can't talk about politics at all unless I do it on this stream, because it's not social media technically. Or it is, but it's fine. Because I get paid to do it, but not this stream, because this channel's not monetized yet. Like and subscribe. Tucker Carlson had a show for a long time. I mean, how long did he do his show? It was 10 years or something, right? It was a long time. He had been on the network and CNN before that. And he's always had this shtick. But it's so crazy and weird, and he's not talking to a studio audience, so it's easy to dismiss it. But hearing how wild the crowd is going for the creepy things he is saying and is about to say, it really adds a new creepiness to it. I think that's why I started spiraling existentially the other day, was not just hearing this sort of rhetoric, but hearing the crowds just going ballistic for it.
if you allow your 2-year-old to smear the contents of his diapers on the wall of your living room, and you do nothing about it, if you allow your 14-year-old to light a joint at the breakfast table, if you allow your hormone-addled 15-year-old daughter to, like, slam the door of her bedroom and give you the finger, you're going to get more of it. And those kids are going to wind up in rehab. It's not good for you.
You hear a woman yelling, yup, yup. Like, who the fuck are these psychopaths who are cheering on the abuse of little girls, like children? That's what they're cheering on. They're cheering on, as we see, vigorous spankings. But it's really fucked up what he's saying, because this is not like a hypothetical. This is a promise. Like, this is exactly what they want to do. They want women to have less rights than men. They want to be able to victimize them. They want to get rid of no-fault divorce. They want women to be trapped in marriages. They want to make abortion illegal nationwide so that they're forced to have babies. I mean, like, they're not kidding around. This isn't just rhetoric. This is the turning point, right? Where are they turning to? They're really turning back the clock to, like, 1950.
It's not good for you, and it's not good for them. No. There has to be a point at which Dad comes home.
That is lovely. There has to be a point in which Daddy comes home. So that's what Trump is. Daddy coming home is Trump returning to the White House and giving a spanking to all the liberals and radical left Marxist communist fascists, which is the incomprehensible thing he's described Kamala Harris as. I just realized we could technically have watched the Joe Rogan thing, but the amount of brain cells we would lose might be unsustainable for the future of the channel. Like, it might... You heard how I was struggling up top. And that's with, like, at least a lot of the brain cells that I had already.
Right.
Losing their shit. Losing their minds.
And he's
clearly on ketamine right now.
Dad is pissed.
Dad is
He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them. Because they're his children. They live in his house.
This is fucking, like, this is what we grew up with. This is the rhetoric in the Watchtower, that God loves his children. But yes, sometimes they need violent discipline because he's disappointed in them. And if he doesn't occasionally murder Ananias and Sapphira or turn a lady to salt or destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, then we won't learn the little lesson we need to. Now will we, mister?
But he's very disappointed in their behavior. And he's going to have to let them know. He's going to have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when Dad gets home, you know what he said?
A woman screaming, yeah.
You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
What the fuck? Like, in his story, this is a 14 or 15-year-old girl. Ah! So creepy. So creepy. Cults are spreading. They're spreading and they're here and they might be in charge soon. So please do all you can to prevent people like this from having any more power and influence than they already do. What a fucking creepy way of life. I mean, I really just can't fathom or respect in any way, especially ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who support Trump. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just a complete betrayal of everything that you learned. You're just trying to reinstitute the exact patriarchal structure that you left. You apparently are willing to cheer. You're willing to cheer on and scream and laugh about the subjugation of women. The subjugation of women, stripping away their rights, forcing them to be housewives, literally like Ralph Walls was just saying. And you're just okay with the abuse of children, too, by the way. So, like, literally, fuck you. Trump was on Epstein's plane. He's been credibly accused of rape many times, including very recently. If you haven't seen the news, she details her story. He bragged on tape about grabbing women by the pussy. Like, this is just the worst fucking human being. No matter what your politics are, this is a disgusting rapist guy. What the fuck is wrong with you? If you left Watchtower and support this guy, I'm not saying whether you support Republicans even. I'm saying this guy in particular. Him and JD Vance, who both, JD Vance is weirdly, even more extreme than Trump, but that's why I get pissed about this stuff. And this is no longer a space where I'm going to entertain those kinds of people, because it's just embarrassing. They are not a part of the kind of movement that I would want to build, right? All right, well, let's see what kind of Nazi rally he's giving at the place where Hitler literally gave a speech in Madison Square Garden. There was famously this huge Nazi rally there.
Galvanized around people called MAGA and a man named
Okay, well that was the audio. Oh, the audio is apparently really bad, isn't it? It's really bad. Well, let's see if PBS has got a little better. I think that guy just got off the stage, so we're not necessarily... Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage former acting director of the Domestic Policy Council of the United States, Brooke Rollins.
Who? White suit, white lady. Wow. The rock and roll campaign. Trump will fix it. Ugh. Yeah. I wish he was talking. Oh, okay. Nazi rally. That's my bad. It's really a really ugly building, isn't it?
Hello, New York City.
This is almost witnessy.
Hello to all of you in America's most iconic city, the city that gave us the man who gave up everything to serve his nation, the once
No, he didn't.
and the future President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Don John. He didn't give up anything. I mean, he didn't even divest himself of his businesses. He, like, did business abroad while he was president, famously.
Tiny town called Glen Rose, Texas. Send to work
Right.
in the West Wing for the most consequential president of our lifetime. And only in America would that same small town Texas girl.
All right, fuck this. Let's watch this update from the Bulwark about JD Vance admits it. Trump will deploy military. Let's
Hey
see what this is.
guys, welcome to the Bulwark. I'm Sam Stein, managing editor.
This is this is kind of an interesting network. They're like more conservative than me, but they're basically all former Republicans who are now like anti-Trump. So it's kind of interesting. They've got a lot of videos that feel like XJW videos almost. But they're also, they post a lot, so you get little updates.
For the site, I'm here with Mo Charon. I don't even know how to introduce you. I mean, what is the actual title for you? You're
I'm the
Let's hear this.
policy editor at the
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Against American citizens, rioters.
He said that he wanted to use the military to go after far-left lunatics who are rioting, and he also called them the enemy within. He separately, in a totally different context, in a totally different conversation, said that Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff were threats to this country.
Were the enemy
He
within.
Never
Were the
said-
enemy within. He said they were the enemy
So
within.
every time he uses the exact same phrase, we assume that he uses
I don't
the
know. I don't
military?
throw around the term of enemy within to talk about using the
Well,
military
you're a
against going American
journalist,
people.
and you're asking his vice president, but you won't let me answer the question. I'm telling you that Donald Trump has said, and I agree with him, that we should use the U.S. military to
go after Americans.
people who riot, who burn down our cities.
And this was
We
what
should
John
call
Kelly
in the
was.
National Guard.
This was what John Kelly was alarmed by: the idea of using the U.S. military to go after Americans. That's what he said.
All right, so what did you...
Holy fucking shit. Holy shit. That's crazy. I would have thought that they wouldn't have touched that one. I got mixed feelings on Jake Tapper. I feel like he can rise to the occasion when he needs to, but a lot of times he doesn't because he works at CNN. I don't really watch any cable news, but you know, you see the clips. Because unfortunately, you know, it's not like JD Vance is going to be interviewed by, I don't know, the majority reports. Well, let's see if this Jake Tapper JD Vance interview, because this seems like it's going to be spicy. All right. Yep. Here we go.
Senator Vance, good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So,
this already it was pretty interesting to see JD Vance get so heated, because one of the things that was really like gross, like really icky about the vice presidential debate, and I think it really threw off Tim Walz, was just how JD Vance presented as a completely different person. Like he just was like an aw shucks good old boy who just blatantly lied about all of his policy positions, just lied about his stance on abortion and all this stuff. And so It seems like we're getting a little bit more of campaign rally JD Vance in this interview.
Let me ask you, obviously, Trump's former chief of staff, General John Kelly, was alarmed, he says, by what he heard when Trump said he wanted to use
Just starts here.
the National Guard or the Pentagon to go after the enemy within, Americans with whom he disagrees, including the Pelosi's, Adam Schiff. And then he gave an interview. He said that Trump, quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, that he is, quote, certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. You've called him a disgruntled former employee. But why shouldn't Americans out there listen to somebody who worked closely with Trump, worked with him longer than you've worked with him, retired 4-star Marine general, served his country honorably, who is conservative, who says he agrees with Trump on most policies, but is worried about this aspect of Trump?
So let me say two things in response.
Okay, so not to play armchair interviewer, although obviously that's exactly what I'm doing. I just wanted to say that maybe he's got this in his back pocket, but it's kind of hard to bring up the fact that John Kelly is saying this stuff. And, you know, this story has already gotten twisted in the noise. It's not... Sorry, I took a hit of my pipe. It's not that Donald Trump... it's not that his generals compared him to Hitler. That's not what they did. They did call him a fascist, authoritarian, right? But what actually happened is they reported that Trump more than once said that he wanted to have generals that were like Hitler's generals. That's the story. Trump himself said these things. It's been verified by several sources. You know, the people that were closest to him, they are saying these things. And so that's the story. I think I get a little annoyed that it's often framed as like, oh, they're calling him a Nazi. It's like that. They're not even saying that. I mean, I think you could definitely imply that or infer that, but they are just reporting what he said.
So first of all, a lot of what John Kelly, pretty much all of what John Kelly accuses Donald Trump of saying, there were other people in the room. Mike Pence's former chief of staff, for example.
Halloween makes a lot more sense than doing this, to be fair. But maybe we'll watch this. We can make it go a little faster. And then we'll close out with something less of a bummer, like Halloween.
Who explicitly said Donald Trump never said those things, right? So one, on
Mike
the
Pence,
specific comments,
who's not going to support Trump because
Mike Pence's former chief of staff said that Donald Trump didn't say those things, right? So that's number one. Number two, I actually think there's an interesting conversation here to have, Jake, which is why does John Kelly not support Donald Trump? It's about policy. It's actually not about personality.
He says he agrees with Trump on most policy.
No,
he agrees with Trump on most policy. He disagrees with Trump on how Trump views his role and his and the fascism and the authoritarianism.
I don't buy that, Jake. I don't buy that because if you actually look at John Kelly, at folks like Liz Cheney, the fundamental disagreement.
This guy lies like it's breathing. How fucking dead in your soul, and that brain meat we were talking about earlier, that you can sit here and do this. It's like when Mike Rinder was a part of Scientology and just did these interviews where he just had to lie. I don't know how you live with yourself doing this.
That they have with Donald Trump is even though they say that they're conservative in the sense that they want America to get involved in a ton of ridiculous military conflicts. They want America to police the world, and Donald Trump
ridiculous.
John Kelly lost a son in Afghanistan. Why are you saying that? I've never heard John Kelly say whether he supports Iran or Afghanistan.
And I honor.
Yeah, fuck JD Vance for implying that this guy is like what are you saying? Like, this is a Republic hyper-conservative military general who was handpicked by Donald Trump. Idiot. This guy was like a journalist in the military. He didn't do combat shit.
Honor his son's sacrifice, and I honor his family's sacrifice. That doesn't.
No,
mean
you
he's
just
not wrong
didn't
about
honor
policy.
it. Actually,
what specifically are you talking about? What has he said?
Is your argument that a person who lost his son in Afghanistan can't be wrong about public policy?
I'm asking
then
you.
Why bring that up? Let's talk about public policy
because
I've never criticized his service.
I brought it up because you're acting as if he is pro-war, and I've never heard him say whether or not he supported the war in Afghanistan or the war in Iraq. He was a general carrying out orders.
Because I know John Kelly's worldview. And I know the people who have attacked Donald Trump the most vociferously on foreign policy, they'll say, well, he's a dictator, when what they really mean is they won't listen. Donald Trump wouldn't listen to the leadership of the military when they wanted him to start ridiculous conflicts. That is a consistent theme. And I think that there's a big, big thing going on in American politics. It's a very interesting theme.
It's a big, big thing.
this guy sucks. He sucks.
And American foreign policy, where a lot of former members of the Pentagon bureaucracy, a lot of old neoconservatives, they have a fundamental difference with Donald Trump on the question of peace and war. I believe Donald Trump is the candidate of peace. I think the record supports that. But the reason these guys go...
That's so insane. Like, do people just not remember the Trump presidency at all? He was threatening to start a nuclear war with foreign countries, like, every day on Twitter. He almost got us into a nuclear conflict with, like, what, China or North Korea because of just shit talking on Twitter. He loves war. He literally wants, like, he has said that he's been in regular contact with Bibi Netanyahu and wants him to go farther, like, wants him to do whatever he wants to do. This is, like, one of the most disturbing genocidal wars ever, probably the most in the modern era. And Trump's like, yeah, no, that's great. He loves war. Stupid, lying idiots.
Go after him so vociferously. I don't think that it's about his personality, Jake. I think that it's about they don't like that Donald Trump said no when a lot of them wanted to start a ridiculous war.
Well, you're ascribing worldviews, I think, based on gut. I can't really tell where you're coming from on it. There's no evidence.
Based on people that I've talked to in the Trump administration,
John
about
Bolton,
what John Kelly wanted to do, John Bolton, Liz Cheney. These people have a consistent...
John Kelly was at the Department...
Jake, you need to be an alpha and take the reins from JD Vance.
Homeland Security. And he was chief of staff. He was not weighing in. I don't even know what you're talking about. But let me ask you something about John Kelly specifically, because you said the other day, quote, I guarantee John Kelly talked to somebody on Kamala Harris's campaign beforehand, before he did this interview. Now, I've spoken with people in John Kelly's circle, and I've spoken with people in the Kamala Harris campaign. They say there's been no communication the entire time. So where did that come from?
Oh, I'm highly skeptical of that, Jake. You know the way that these attacks work. You know the way that these people are often vetted by
So you made it up.
before something goes out there. No, I said that the American media and the American Democratic Party apparatus works a certain way. If it comes out that John Kelly never even spoke with a person in the Kamala Harris orbit, then I'm happy. You're telling me that based on secondhand conversations with John Kelly, and it's interesting.
Oh, they do this shit secondhand. Okay. Well, this is really horrible. I hate it. What's the vibe check? I just wanted to kind of see this because I feel like I need to know how insane this gets. I mean, he hasn't even gotten to the part of where he says that he does think that they should use the U.S. military on citizens. Here's what's killing me. Here's what's killing me, folks. The thing that I was getting in fights about. It wasn't with, like, Trump supporters, because it's not worth arguing with them on the internet. You're not going to change their mind. It was with, like, leftists who agree with me on, like, 99.9% of things, but truly don't think that Trump will be worse. Like, they truly... I don't even know how they think, but they think that, like, the state of America right now is the worst possible conditions we could ever possibly live in. So Trump will not be any better or worse. It's exactly the same thing. And so, you know, I would bring up this talk of, like, using the military against citizens and blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, well, that's not going to happen. Like, they truly don't think it's going to happen. Why? Why not trust that he says what he says he's going to do, he is going to do? That it's what they're running on. Like, the crowd loves it. The entire institution around him supports it. The Supreme Court granted him permission in advance to do whatever he wants. Like, of course he's going to do this. You're fucking stupid if you think that he wouldn't.
We've now spent, Jake, 3 minutes talking about John Kelly. If it is true that he never spoke with anyone in Kamala Harris's orbit, I'm happy to apologize to John Kelly for misstating how he delivered this news to the Atlantic magazine. But let's talk about who he delivered this news to Jeffrey Goldberg, a guy who lied the United States into the Iraq War, which led to the
with a Jewish
of
name,
millions
no
of innocent
less.
Arabs and thousands of innocent Americans. You don't go to that guy if you don't have a particular ideological motive. I think that's what's going on. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to say
Wow, that's
I think
fucking
it's interesting that
convoluted.
you think that a magazine writer lied the American people into war.
Well, he encouraged it. He wrote stories that were dishonest.
He wrote a story about the gassing of the Kurds in I forget if it was the Atlantic or the New Yorker, but I'm actually referring to John Kelly talking to the New York Times.
He wrote stories, by the way, where he took what intelligence officials in the American Pentagon bureaucracy said and wrote it as the gospel truth. And this highlights the entire point that I'm making about Trump's foreign policy, is this is a guy who wants
Who is this interview for? Like, what is he? He's doing this for, like, the Peter Thiel tech bro contingent, who, like, they're a little more tuned in. They read weird articles that are, like, but they're pseudo-intellectual, right? It's not, like, Newsmax. So it kind of feels like he's trying to appease a very specific segment. Like, obviously, if you're ride or die for Trump, You might be a little surprised by hearing him say this stuff about the military, but mostly you're just happy that your guy is defending the truth, right? And clearly you don't know what the fuck is happening or how things work anyway, otherwise you wouldn't support Donald Trump and JD Vance, I guess.
Use American troops sparingly. He wants peace through strength. It's why his foreign policy was so successful during his first term. It's all the same people who were wrong about Iraq. They were wrong about the quagmire in Afghanistan. They were wrong about Syria. They were wrong about everything. And now they're coming after Donald Trump because he actually has a realistic and cautious foreign policy.
This is the smartest thing, and maybe the only smart thing that Donald Trump ever did, which was to be a referendum on George Bush and to talk about the reality that, you know, we were misled into getting into that war and that the Bush administration lied and all that shit. Like, that's the really smart thing that he's done. So, like, he has all these dictatorial instincts. He's every bit the war hawk that other Republicans are, but he gets to, like, kind of masquerade as an anti-war candidate. And Biden has weirdly been a wartime president because even though there's no, like, domestic wars happening and we're not, like, in active combat, we're supporting all these foreign wars, so it's felt like wartime. Very, like, Trump is benefiting from a lot of these, like, vibey advantages.
About people who worked for Donald Trump in his first administration. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about not just John Kelly, but Mark Milley, who was the Trump-appointed chairman of the Joint Chiefs of
Who
Staff.
disobeyed Trump's direct orders on troop redeployments in Syria.
And I'm talking about the guy that had your job.
A massive violation of his constitutional oath, by the way.
I'm talking about the guy that had your job before Donald Trump's supportive crowd wanted to hang him, Vice President Mike Pence, who said, as you know, that Trump put himself before the Constitution. I'm talking about...
So refusing to carry out illegal orders, just so we're all clear, that's not a violation of your oath to the Constitution. Like, that is the oath to the Constitution, is that you will put the Constitution above, you know, laws, commands that may go against the Constitution. So, like, he's just wrong.
General Mattis, also Secretary of Defense.
Look at this shit-eating grin on his face.
Mark Esper, the Secretary of Defense, who told me that Trump does have fascistic tendencies. John Bolton, H.R. McMaster,
single one.
Melissa Farragut.
Okay, Jake, are you going to listen to every Trump administration official? You know, one reason...
This is why Matt Dillahunty needs to be the one moderating these debates, because he'd be like, shut up! Shut up! Shut the fuck up! I'm going to put you on mute. Sir. I'm saying, I love Matt Dillahunty. I'm watching this like, Jake, just tell him to shut up. Just tell him to shut up.
Why Kamala Harris doesn't have as many people criticizing her is because she doesn't fire people who fail. That's why we haven't had a real audit of the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, is because Kamala Harris protects failures in government. Donald Trump fires them. And I'd much rather have the president who fires people who screw up. Now, Jake.
I must say, this is very smart spin on their part that, like, well, because we're willing to fire people, that's why all the people who we used to work with are calling him, you know, a fascist dictator. It's because they were disobedient rhinos. And, you know, Trump's catchphrase is you're fired, so he just fired the bad people, which is why it's going to be great this next time.
No, this is an important point. Kamala Harris.
You did not fire Mike Pence.
Kamala Harris.
He did not fire Mark Milley.
Kamala Harris.
He did not fire John.
Get him, Jake.
He fired a lot of those people, Jake, and he did because they weren't doing their job.
No, he fucking didn't.
This is the thing, Jake. We've now spent 5 minutes talking about people in Donald Trump's staff
who think he's not fit for office.
He fired.
Who think he's not fit for office.
Oh, they didn't think he was unfit for office until they had a falling out with him because he fired them. And we're not talking about the public policy.
Well,
we're actually talk about how Americans can't afford groceries.
We're actually
Can we talk about the fact that Americans can't afford the cost of housing? Can we talk about the fact that a lot of people?
This is the influence that Ben Shapiro has had on the Republican Party. Like, just the Gish Gallop. Just, you have to say as much shit as possible as quickly as possible and refuse to shut up ever. So it sounds like you're saying a bunch of factual things. It doesn't really matter if any of those things are true, but if you just say them and don't let the other person talk, you will appear to be winning.
People out there in Erie, Pennsylvania, they're the ones who suffer and die when people like Mark
suffer
and
Milley die. He said that. He said that in the in his like announcement speech, because I used that clip in the poop edit I made.
Talking about Donald Trump and what he said.
Yes,
and Donald Trump says.
And you'd much rather talk about what Donald Trump allegedly said than what Donald Trump did in office.
Slap him. Just like stand up and be like, hey.
To use the military to go after the enemy within, which is the American people.
He did not say that, Jake.
The enemy
he
within?
said that he was going to send the military after the American people. Show me the quote where he said
He said the enemy within.
He said far-left lunatics. He's talking
Like
about
the
people
Pelosi's
rioting.
and Schiff.
He's talking about people rioting.
He's not talking about people. He's talking about the far left. Those don't count as people.
After the election. I think
the Pelosi's were rioting after the election?
He said...
Adam Schiff was
using
rioting after the election?
You're using two separate phrases. He said about using the military, that far-left lunatics, people who riot in the wake of an election, people who burn down American cities in the summer of 2020.
It's amazing how, like, to understand in good faith what Donald Trump is saying, you have to understand that every single thing he says has a complicated excuse. So he didn't really say the things that he really did say, because if you know the context, it's impossible for him to have said something that I don't agree with. Like, it's not true, and even if it's not true, it's not that bad. And even if it is bad, our enemies are so much worse that it doesn't matter.
Yes, we should have a federal law enforcement
This is what
response.
he said to Joe Rogan on Friday. The enemy within.
Yes,
that he wants the military
patriots
to go
and
after.
heroes, of course.
The enemy within a bigger problem than Kim Jong-un.
The second part.
We have people that are really bad people that I really think want to make this country unsuccessful. That's who the enemy within.
And did he say that he wants to use the military against those people? Here's the game.
The military to go after the enemy within.
Here's the game that you're playing. He said that no. Can I answer the question, please? He said that he wanted to use the military to go after far-left lunatics who were rioting, and he also called them the enemy within. He separately, in a totally different context, in a totally different conversation, said that Nancy.
I think Tapper is thrown off here. That JD Vance is like, no, yeah. He does want to use the military against the far left. Absolutely. Like, I think that's almost like not registering quite yet. He's like, wait, what? What is he saying?
Pelosi and Adam Schiff were threats to this country.
Were the enemy within.
Never
the enemy within. He said they were the enemy
so
within.
Every time he uses the
He's
exact
like,
same phrase, we assume that he uses.
I don't know. I don't throw around the term of enemy within to talk about using the military against destroying American people.
And you're asking his vice president, but you won't let me answer the question. I'm telling you that Donald Trump has said, and I agree with him, that we should use the U.S. military to go after
Americans.
People who riot, who burn down our cities.
And this was what John Kelly was.
National Guard.
This was what John Kelly was alarmed by: the idea of using the U.S. military to go after Americans.
That's what he said. Donald Trump never said Americans writ large. You keep on putting words in his mouth. And
are they or are they not Americans?
Far left people who commit acts of violence, who riot. And
now you're doing a very narrow definition of what he said, which is not what he said. That's not what he said. But let me ask you. Let me ask you the bigger
point. He did say that, Jake. He did. He said that he wanted to use the U.S. military. Let me clarify.
Go after far left lunatics. Yes, and then he.
Okay. Like, if you're on the MAGA side, this is still bad. Like, this is still bad. Like, Jake Tapper said, like, are they not Americans? And he's like, no, they don't even really count as real people. Like, even if you grant everything that JD Vance is saying, what he's saying is still insane. He's saying, like, don't worry, we're just going to use the military against the far left people who riot and stuff. Well, that's no.
Also added
rioting and looting.
And
he never said.
He added Schiff, and then he added the Pelosi's.
He
added people that don't want the country to succeed.
He said that Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi he used in a separate context and a separate conversation. And what you're doing is you're smashing two totally different conversations.
Fox asked him about this last week, and he didn't take issue with it. He said the enemy within is the biggest threat to this country.
But did he say the enemy within that he's going to use the military against Nancy Pelosi? Donald Trump offered Nancy Pelosi the National Guard on January the 6th, and according to private emails, she rejected it.
No, he didn't.
Let's talk about things that
Famously, he did not.
Into this concern that
Famously, they had to go behind his back, and it was Mark Milley who, called in the National Guard, right, and refused to use the U.S. military to assist the rioters.
People like John Kelly and General Mattis and General Milley have. He said on Friday, Special Counsel Jack Smith should get thrown out of the country. He's threatened to arrest election officials who cheated. We know that he believes a lot of people cheated that did not cheat.
If you violate the law, you should be arrested. Yes.
No one disagrees with that, but he's talking
Apparently
about...
you do, based on the way you're asking the question.
No, based on the fact that he's accused people that didn't break the law of breaking the law when it comes to the election. And if you want to revisit that, I'm happy to. But Liz Cheney, he said, should be put before a war tribunal. None of that sounds fascist to you at all?
No, of course it doesn't. Of
course
it doesn't.
Okay. We're losing people, so I might have to move on. But, hey, puppy. Of course putting Liz Cheney, who is no longer serving in government, as I understand, in front of a war tribunal for simply, speaking her mind and reporting the facts of the January 6th committee, putting her before a war tribunal is not fascist at all. Silly. Why are you being silly? Okay. Well, I actually have a big plan for a Halloween stream, although Actually, yeah, I can do it on Halloween, and I might be in costume. I don't know. I still haven't really done the costume thing yet, but my plan is when I was writing Not a Cult, I pulled a lot of creepy quotes and creepy demon stories from Watchtower Publications, and I want to just go through them because they're really spooky and weird, but also kind of funny to read in hindsight because it's like, wow, how did we just believe this shit? Like, this is like, there's no way to verify this is true. So I want to do that. I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going for 3 hours. Sorry that the streams have turned into 3-hour streams. I'm just, I don't know. I enjoy it. I like doing it. And sorry to hit you with the politics there at the end, but to me, falls under the cult umbrella and doing debunks and shit. So thank you everyone for watching. I wanted to, if I hadn't wasted a bunch of time, read some of the Not a Cult preview, but just go to my Patreon, patreon.com/altworldly. It's a public post. You don't have to sign up or anything. There's just a link to the PDF file there. And yeah, check it out. Give me an email. Let me know what you think. I am going to upload an updated one to fix a couple, typos and grammatical things. But yeah, I think we did. I think this was a very good first stream. The Ralph Walsh segment's good. I might release that as a stream highlight. What do you say, folks? I think, as Sam heard, we should conclude this broadcast with a yeah. Yeah. All right. We love to see it. Shit, what I could do is I could play the Not a Cult trailer. A cool trailer I made. I'll do that. Get you hyped for the book. Read my book. I put a lot of work into it.
Do you enjoy a good story? If so, you're in for a special treat.
For more than 100 years, Jehovah's Witnesses have proclaimed the Bible's message that God's kingdom will rid the world of wickedness.
Undoubtedly, before the end, Satan's efforts to promote wickedness will intensify.
And of course, Satan is a god of intimidation.
That the reign of sin and death will soon be overthrown by Messiah's kingdom.
If a man's offering is a lamb, it shall be a female without blemish. He shall lay his hand upon its head, slaughter it, empty its blood on the base of the altar, and he shall be forgiven.
Are you ready? Are you ready to be glad over her destruction?
I mean, how sad it would be if we shaped and imitated ourselves after the world, and when Satan picked us up, we fit right in with his machine and organization.
This is the price of our rage.
Who do you think are Satan's primary targets? We are.